Chattisfying.
Hello, motherfunsters, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 9 of Chattisfying, a podcast. My name is Mellar. We are joined today with our co-host, Angry Angel. And today, our special guest, Chellegy.
Hello, wherever I am. I don't know.
Just before we start, if we ever get to, a little bit of announcement. So I think what we're going to do today's going to be the last episode of Season 3. We'll start Season 4 next time. We'll continue with Pizza Wars. We're going to keep that rolling on. And, you know, we still need more results before we can post a final what is the best pizza. But the reason for today being the last episode of Season 3, because the seasons, they're all different sizes in terms of how many episodes they are. There doesn't seem like a rhyme or reason from the outside, but each season has a bit of a theme. And our theme this season very much has been Angry Angel is our co-host. And that's not going to be the case in Season 4. You're going to have to step back due to school, basically. For anyone who doesn't know, Angry Angel works for a school. She's a teacher. And it kind of sucks because they're changing their hours. So we can't really do this anymore. So I'm sure she will be a guest host at some point in the future. I know the difference.
At some point in the past, yeah.
Time traveler.
We were already kind of squeaking this together as it was.
Squeaking it together, yeah.
Right? Like like we're already 5 hours apart, and so like right when I got home was just the latest that Mellar could really start it. And when my school's hours just moved me a half an hour later, and it's just gonna blow it out of the water. So, yep. But this year has been super fun. I've loved getting to know all of you, and I feel like we've changed the structure of the podcast a little bit. So we're having more discussions. We're talking about streaming and games and all that kind of stuff. And I think we've sort of set up a really nice foundation for the community to come in and talk about different things.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for like the input that you've put, not just obviously the stuff that everyone sees, but the stuff in the background as well. It's been really, really invaluable, honestly. So thank you very much. And obviously in the future, maybe if an episode happens to fall on a holiday, then we can always have you back as a guest co-host occasionally.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about the topic. The wording of the topic is time zones. How to support streamers who stream when you do. I know this can be quite tricky, especially when you've got some streamers who have a very set schedule. So if we'll go with guests first, do you want to give sort of an opinion on this, and then we'll go from there, Shelley?
Sure. As you all probably know, I know a lot of people in chat, and then also you all have been following me for quite a while. I haven't been streaming for that long, but I kind of just like burst into the Zelda scene. If you know me, I kind of started in the community and Burton streams. So that's kind of the streamer that I'm going to talk about the most, just because Burton is a daily streamer. And he has a very set schedule where he pretty much streams the same hours every single day. And so in the beginning, when I wasn't streaming every day, I was able to like be there in his stream and hang out with him a lot. But then, of course, when I started streaming every day, which we won't talk about that was really, really disastrous. And I was not.
We all tried it, Shelley. I tried to, when I first started streaming, I tried to stream a little bit every day, and it's always a disaster. So don't worry.
So for me specifically, it was because I was off of assignment with the Electrical Workers Union, and I didn't really have a whole lot to do while I was waiting for a new contract to come in. And they had told me that it was like 3 weeks until the new job had started, and so I was like, well, I've just got 3 weeks of I can't go do another job. I can't go get another job because then I'll have to quit that job as soon as the new contract comes in. I need these hours to get through the apprenticeship. And so I just sat at the house and I was like, I don't really have anything else to do. And so it was every single day for about a month, I would wake up and I would have breakfast and I would make a pot of coffee, and then I would literally just stream all day. And from like 10 a.m. Eastern to maybe like 7 or 8 p.m. and then like just spend my evenings and just playing video games with friends. It was all very unhealthy and I should have managed that a lot easier, but the fact of the matter is that's how it went. During that time, of course, Burton is also streaming at the same time as I am. And a lot of the ways that I've found it easy for me to support Burton, a lot of it is just silent lurking, just being there, even if it's just like dropping an emote in chat or something like that, clips and bits, channel point redeems. I've seen a lot of streamers do that. I know Pulse is really good about that. Being in the stream and then, just randomly channel point redeem. And I've seen him do it in yours, Mellar, where he plays the random sound and then it ends up actually being like perfectly timed to whatever's happening. And it almost kind of seems like he's paying attention and knows exactly what's happening, but no, he's also streaming. And so he doesn't have this up. Burton does the same thing. He brings up a lot of channels. I swear he's probably in like 10 different channels at any given point during the day. And just like drops a lurk, and that really goes a long way. But it's not just about the online interactions, is it? We like to consider ourselves friends, and so it's not just a situation where, oh, I'm watching your stream because I want to watch the gameplay. It's I'm in your stream because I think that you're a genuinely interesting person and I really like spending time with you. I could just go to YouTube and watch like some random person do a no commentary run, but that's not really what I'm looking for when I'm on Twitch, So and I think a lot of it honestly is so interacting in Discord. Discord is like huge. We're all we spend a lot of time in there, spending time with streamers, just kind of fostering that sense of community between ourselves. So I think that those are kind of like the biggest things. And then of course you also have, your raids, and when you have so many awesome people in the community, it can be a little bit daunting to try to, figure out who you're going to raid, because there's so many people seemingly online at the same time, and you want to make sure that you're not overrating someone and underrating someone else. And so it can be a little bit of a tricky, situation. But honestly, I think that, at least for me, and I think a lot of people would agree, that just dropping in and saying hi, even if you just have to run right after, is so huge and makes someone feel really appreciated and like you're there for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like what you said about Pulse, actually. I don't know how he does that, because I just can't.
Me either. It's a random sound.
I can't, like, if I'm going to support someone who's streaming while I am, really the only thing I feel that I can do is leave them a lurk, leave them a tab open while I stream. Because I just, when I'm streaming, I can't focus on anything else. I keep thinking to myself, I should just pop in and like every now and then. I can't do it. I've tried. I just like when I'm streaming, I'm so focused on that as an activity that everything else just goes out the window. Honestly, I don't know how people that do that, and especially like I try and like when I'm watching them stream as well, I try and catch them at it, and I can't catch them at it. Like, they do it so naturally that it's very rarely obvious that their mind is even elsewhere, and I don't know how they do that, because if I did that, it would be so painfully obvious. It would be painful. It would make me cringe if I was to watch it back. I can't.
Yeah.
So it is difficult to support other people who stream when you do. I think the way that I sort of mostly get away with it is I don't think I stream that much, really, when it comes down to it. I mean, yeah, I do one big stream, 6 hours, which is quite a long stream. But when you add that to the other 4 hours that I stream a week, it's actually really only 10 hours a week, which isn't really that much compared to a lot of people. So I can be around these people basically when I'm not streaming. And that's kind of how I get around it, really. Like, most of the, I don't think I know anyone who only streams when I stream, because how would I get to know them? Because I've been doing the same streaming hours for years now. So I don't really get an opportunity to meet people that only stream when I stream, because I'm streaming, I'm busy, So I think that's kind of how I get around it. Luckily I haven't been tested. Like, I haven't gotten to the point where there's been someone who I know and maybe they've changed that they changed their hours to the same as mine, or I changed their mine to the same as theirs. I haven't been tested in that way yet, so I don't know what would happen if that was to happen. I think on balance, like, if I really wanted to hang out with someone, I'd probably occasionally like cancel a stream and just hang out with them instead. But I don't know. Like I say, it hasn't happened yet, and I'm very happy that it hasn't, because it kind of puts you in a bit of a sticky situation, I feel.
Yeah, I feel a little bit difficult to, manage that. And going back to what you were saying about how people do it, how people manage to stream and then also be active in somebody else's stream. I totally understand because I will usually have somebody pulled up on mobile, and it's typically Burton because I do mod in his channel. So I'll have Burton pulled up on my on mobile and then be streaming. And I feel like there's so many times during the stream where I'm just like, hang on a second. And thankfully I don't stream with cam, so like people don't see me like looking down at my phone, like because that would be absolutely terrible. But just to be like, just to, oh, hey, I saw you did that trick, like, good job, or hey, do you mind to teach me that later, or I have a question about something, if you wouldn't mind to holler at me after your stream, because if I don't talk about it right then, I'm going to completely forget. Yeah. So, and I'm just like, the amount of times on stream that I'm just like, oh, all right, y'all hang out for just a second and then just pause my game and be in Burton's chat. It's actually way more than I'd like to admit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just actually something that Def Saver just said in chat about sort of support work for streamers, and that did actually make me think, like, if there was someone who I was friends with and I was like, who I'm modded for, I might maybe have their chat up on screen so I can mod while I'm streaming. But I don't generally feel like I need to do that because most people that I mod for have other mods that can do it for them as well. So it's only if I know that they're like, that they need someone,
Mellar is on a personal journey to mod for every person in the Zelda community.
I'm like Thanos, so I must have them all.
For me, I have a spreadsheet of my favorite streamers, which is basically everybody. And so if I've been watching you for a while, I know your schedule. If you post your schedule in Discord, if you post your schedule on Twitch, I have you in a spreadsheet and I know when you're streaming. I take that very seriously because y'all are my friends and I want to know when you're doing stuff so that I can be there to support you as much as possible. And because my schedule is it's not hectic. Like, I have the privilege of having a job that has a very set daily schedule. Y'all, I'm watching you at work. I got you tabbed at work. I do. I figured out the Wi-Fi. I don't even care that this is live. You're tabbed at work and on mute, and I'm watching you. If you stream during the day while I'm at work, I fully believe in the power of community on Twitch. It is, I have said this in almost every single podcast episode we've done. But if I can be there, I'm there. Even if I've got you on mute, you're going to see the little icon next to my name that has the little X, but I can see you. I just can't hear you because I'm teaching. But I just, drop a lurk, be there if you can, have a tab open if you can, because viewers and, we've talked about how watching numbers isn't the way to healthily interact with Twitch. But still, that's how Twitch operates. So we have to support each other by being in each other's streams, talking in each other's chats, encouraging follows and stuff like that, because that's the dirty side of the coin. The nice side of the coin is we're just supporting each other, but the other side is we have to support each other. So yeah, I have a spreadsheet to keep track. Okay, it's Monday. Who streams on Mondays usually? Okay, now I'm going to go drop into their stuff. It's Tuesday. Oh, Mellar streams on Tuesday, so he's priority in the afternoon. Who streams in the evenings? Like, it's just, for me, I'm a type A, everything organized nerd alert. And so you are, so the request I always have of streamers is, please, if you do have a schedule, I don't care if it changes day to day or week to week. Like, you don't need the same schedule every week. If you can have a schedule channel, or just use Twitch's schedule feature and Twitch dashboard and put up when you're streaming next, because people actually look at that stuff so that they can figure out, can I watch Chellegy this week? Can I watch Mellar this week? And there are some streamers that I miss. I want to see them, but I don't know when they're going live, and I can't live that FOMO life. We're like, ooh, they popped live at 7:30 p.m. and I didn't know
I'm
about
so
it.
sorry I do this to you. I'm so sorry I do this to you. I say I might stream tomorrow.
That's not everybody can do it, but the other half of that is you stream long enough. Like when you do stream, you stream long enough that if I can't be there right then, I know you're going to be streaming for like 4 or 5 hours, so you catch some of it at some point. But yeah, like the takeaway from this, the best way to support other streamers and to help other people support you is to post a schedule. If I don't even care if it's on a daily, but tell us what you're doing tomorrow somewhere. Announce it, schedule, channel it on Discord, do it on Twitch. But honestly, that's where the magic happens.
I actually just like to build on something that you just said there, because one thing that I've noticed recently on Twitch Mobile, because Twitch Mobile has had an update in the last sort of month or two, and it's crap. And one of the reasons why it's crap is because now when you go on to like your followed channels, it isn't really like a list of the people that you follow. It's more like a list of these are the people that you follow and some people that you might like. Which is completely like just misses the point for me of you know, like why would you have a follow? Like you've got browse, that's what browse is for, right? And each streamer is on their own page, so you don't get one page of all the people that are live right now, like you do on PC. So you sort of mentioned, you know, if you don't have a schedule, you might miss the stream. It's true. Like if you're on mobile and you don't have notifications set up, it's so easy now to completely miss a stream, because even if someone's live who you really like, unless you've got a notification, you got that notification, which don't forget doesn't always come through. You're not going to have any idea because all you see is the person that's at the top of your follow list. And you got.
I don't have those fucking notifications on. Those notifications are not on.
Yeah,
they're not on. I can't have a billion. I follow so many of you. I can't have that many notifications to clear. I gotta know when you're streaming, because I'm gonna open. I don't even do mobile anymore, fam. I don't stream on my phone. I don't watch you on my phone anymore. I know some of you that's your only option to do it, and I get it, but like. I'm watching on my Chromebook in the living room. Like those of you that watch that I raid into, I'm like, I'm going to relocate to the living room and I'll watch you on my Chromebook. I'm not watching you. I'm either watching you here on my desktop or I'm watching you in the living room on my laptop, because I cannot deal with the Twitch mobile app. I just cannot.
It's not good, and it's actually worse now than it used to be.
I haven't updated it, and I've heard terrible things, and that's why I won't update it until it's probably going to break. It'll probably break, and then I'll be forced to update it. But I'm like taking every moment that I can.
Yeah, absolutely do, because the new version is shocking. I mean, I still use it because of the convenience, but I like the best experience of Twitch without a doubt is on a PC. You know, on your browser, it's absolutely so much better.
The other thing I didn't even think about is Discord can help with this, because you can turn like. My Discord app doesn't send me push notifications, but I leave the notifications on the auto promoting channels and on the self-promoting channels, because I check Discord once every couple of hours. If I see that something's popped there and you've posted in my Discord that you've gone live, I'm going to stop in. And so another way that I try to keep track with people who don't necessarily post a schedule is using those kinds of channels. So I think something I've noticed in Discords is that there are some servers that just don't have a self-promote area. And I think that's a mistake. I think having that and just leaving it, and if you don't feel like seeing it, mute it. And just let people try to reach out to people. Just let them have a little tiny space. Because I've dropped in. I think Ginger is the one that I catch most often, because she subs to me and I auto promote subscribers in a channel. I program it to do that. And so when she pops, I don't know her schedule, but when she pops, I click on the link and I drop in. So that's another way you can support people who kind of stream at the same time as you. Just have Discord up, and when you see those notifications, that little white dot pop up, you know that they're there.
Mm.
So that's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess
Ginger,
I-
you did just start, and I appreciate you.
And I think like one oh sorry, go ahead.
Well, Manus says that the Discord notifications don't always come through straight away. I actually don't. I don't get that. They always come straight
Streamcord
through
has
for
been
me.
a little bit buggy lately.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but Discord's pretty like when the only stuff I've noticed that has been strange has been the auto promotes, like the external stuff has taken a minute. When I've added something to my Throne gift list, it takes like 5 minutes for it to update. But if you're self-promoting, it's immediate. Those kinds of notifications are coming through immediately. So if you're using a bot right now, Discord's a little bit buggy, but it's coming through. It's just there's like a 5-minute delay at most.
Interesting.
Just like the last thing that I did want to mention as far as like supporting other streamers is we're all the time doing like, you know, special events or, you know, if someone's doing like a 24-hour stream or, you know, especially with the archipelago popping off right now. Another little thing that you can do that kind of has a huge impact is just talking about what your friends are up to. Just being like, oh, hey, I heard that Burton is running like he's running an archipelago, you know, or he does his co-op, you know, community days, or, you know, Mellar's doing crowd control this weekend, or, oh my gosh, Angel is completely obsessed with Stardew Valley and has absolutely popped off on her farm. Like, hey. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to call you out.
Hey, look, Shelly. I have to maintain my tough exterior. I have to maintain my angry exterior.
No.
You cannot talk about how
I didn't mean to say Stardew Valley.
With my farm animals, Shelly. You cannot.
I meant to say God of War.
Shelly, please.
I was someone else I'm thinking of that was Stardew Valley. It's not you. It's God of War.
It's not my fault. It's not my fault. I'm definitely not planning a YouTube video that compares Stardew Valley to Animal Crossing, explaining why Stardew Valley is 10 times better than it. I am not planning that video at all.
I was truly hoping you were about to say comparing Stardew Valley and God of War.
They are exactly the same.
Please, I need it. This is why. This is why Stardew Valley and God of War are exactly the same.
But I think what you're talking about, Shelly, those special events, again, I feel like Discord is where that happens. Like having like if you want to have a channel in your Discord where people can post special events, not just generic streams, but like this is what's happening today on a community calendar or something like that. I think you can link a calendar into Discord. I think like if you wanted to create like a Google calendar under like your Twitch name, like
isn't there already an inbuilt event system? I'm pretty sure
there's some kind of event system, and I don't use it, but I know it exists. Where like the different people across Discords, the calendars talk to each other. And so if Burton's doing an archipelago and Manus is doing an archipelago and Penguin is doing a 24-hour charity stream and Mellar is doing an 8-hour stream, like if you're all part of like a generic community that shares viewers, you could put all of that on a calendar that is visible in all of your Discords.
I'm definitely going to have to check that out because I don't use the event feature either.
I'm like 95% sure it exists. I know how to create it.
I've seen it. Yeah.
An event. Like I know the commands to make an event just for me, but I'm not sure how to make the Discord servers talk to each other. But I imagine that they do.
Yeah, that's definitely something I'll have to check out because that is really cool. And I usually just kind of I don't expect that a lot of people like check Discord, you know? So I'm just like, if people are in my stream, they're actively here right now, like watching me right now. They have made this active decision to be here. And I feel like that in and of itself is a better way for me to help promote streamers. Of course, that doesn't mean that I'm only going to do that. And I do have my self-promote channel in Discord. But again, I think that it's just kind of a situation where like you join one Discord and then it's very slippery slope where you've all of a sudden joined 150 Discords and then you mute all of them because you're sick of seeing the little red number bubble. And I totally get it. I do. So I don't like expect that people like really see a whole lot of stuff going on in my Discord.
Off topic pro tip, join a Discord, click the little triangle, mute everything. Mute everything, but don't turn off the notifications on the individual channels in the server. So you don't get any red. You don't get any reds. You have to go into the server to see if there's channels you're interested in, and then you can mute individual. Like, oh my God, when all y'all went in on this archipelago thing, I had to go in all your Discords and mute all that shit. I had to go in and turn those off. But like, that's if you're someone who gets anxiety from those red alerts, you just mute the server and just go into the server and look if that's a server you want to like be interactive with.
Also, another pro tip is I use a lot of folders for my servers. So all of the Zelda community is in a folder. All of my larger Discords like Harbor Masters, and of course the Link to the Past randomizer, Ocarina of Time randomizer, Mario Kart 64, like all of the stuff that I do where I don't like really interact with those people. It's just events that I join and information and whatever. All of those are in a folder as well. And then once the folder gets up to a point where the number is a little bit too much for me, you can actually, you can do it on desktop as well. But even just on like mobile, you can long press it and then just mark it as red, and it completely wipes all of the notifications. It's so easy. It's so easy.
But the secret is Discord is probably more helpful in supporting streamers that stream when you do than Twitch. And if you can make a schedule, make one so that we know what the heck is going on. Please, thank you.
Hot topic.
So today's hot topic, we've got two actually. We're going to dive straight into the first hot topic. So these are Chellegy's words, right? 2D Zelda is better than 3D Zelda. Explain.
Okay. So I did start off playing 3D Zeldas. I've been playing Ocarina of Time since I was like 15, so 2005. I got a 64 when I was 18 and played Ocarina of Time. I played a little bit of Majora's Mask, but it's a bit creepy for me. I'm kind of a baby. So I played a lot of Ocarina of Time, and then of course, like Wind Waker and Skyward Sword. I played a little bit of Twilight Princess, and they were really great games, don't get me wrong, but then like I got A Link to the Past when I was 23, and it changed everything for me. If you don't know, A Link to the Past is my favorite Zelda game. And I think that the way that I perceive 2D Zeldas is that it really does feel more like an adventure, in that it's just kind of leaving you to your own devices. And because everything is so linear and so like, of course, top down, and it's all very into a box, you didn't really need a lot of the hand holdiness that comes with 3D, where you have like all of this additional space where so many new things can be added in. And then because all of that space is there and it needs to be filled, there's so many things that you could overlook. And so 3D Zeldas tend to be way more hand holding than 2D Zeldas. I think that 2D Zeldas are more difficult. However, it is a type of challenging where you genuinely feel rewarded for having overcome the challenge. Whereas with like 3D Zeldas, of course you have, again, all of this space. And we all know, like with 2D Zeldas, aiming can be a little bit crappy. Especially I'm thinking immediately to the Link to the Past Ganon fight, where you're having to shoot the silver arrows at him. And it has to be like a perfect dead on line, and that gets to be really difficult. But then of course with 3D Zeldas, you have so much more space, and so with all of that space, it kind of required for there to be a targeting system. However, the targeting system, while intended to make it not impossible in a 3D space, completely trivialized having that space at all, because now you're never going to miss. And I remember
Chellegy, just a quick clarification.
Sure.
Are we talking about a certain era of Zelda games? Like, because are you saying, so 2D Zeldas is through like Link to the Past, right?
So 2D Zeldas is Zelda 1, 2, and then A Link to the Past, and then the Oracles, and then Minish Cap.
And
Right. So
obviously,
all of those older like 90s Zelda's games before 98.
And Four Swords, right? Four Swords.
Yes.
yeah, what about
So-
Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks?
Yeah. Everything kind of connected in with Link to the Past and the original stuff. So
Yeah.
so are you saying, just to clarify what you're calling 3D Zeldas, are you talking like retro only? Or
No,
are you saying,
not at all.
are you saying
I'm
all
talking
those
about any kind of like any Zelda game that is not a top-down experience. Like you have your
So-
2D flat plane, and then you
so-
have your big open areas where
Link's Awakening would count as a 2D for you?
Mhm, mhm.
Okay.
So even like A Link Between Worlds and the new Link's Awakening, it's still a top-down experience. I
Okay.
recognize that like the character models are a little bit bubbly and have that 3D-ishness to them, but still from the perspective of the player, you don't have all of this around the character like space. So
So I just needed the clarification of we're thinking more top down, four directions kind of an experience, whereas Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask forward, with the exclusion of Link's Awakening and the upcoming Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, are the
and
three.
I probably should have said that more of like a top-down versus like a
Well, but
I don't.
Shelly,
What would you even call that?
Shelly, I'm a dummy. When it comes,
It's okay. No, you're not a dummy.
when it comes to Zelda, I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge. Like there's Link to the Past, and then there's Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and that's it. So the only reason I jumped in was for my own. Like, what could you define it more clearly? Like, what is a 2D Zelda? Are you because what I would ask is, I feel like the targeting systems and the aiming systems are vastly improved in the more recent games, in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Like shooting things, swiping your sword, from shooting from far away, like it's so much bigger. Do you feel like there's multiple eras of Zelda when it comes to the 3D versions of Zelda in terms of quality of experience?
Yeah, I think obviously, and I do so with my top fives, there are only a couple of entries that are actually like the 3D experience. Wind Waker is my third favorite Zelda, and then Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are my fourth favorite. Ocarina of Time, though I play it primarily on my stream, is not even like top five Zeldas for me. However, when speaking specifically about the difficulty of battle, with the targeting system, in my mind, there is next to no difference between the targeting system of Ocarina of Time and the targeting system of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It doesn't give you, it's essentially what like auto aim did for first person shooters. You're not going to miss. So it's completely removed all difficulty from the battle, in that all you have to do is hold, your L trigger or your Z trigger, and then you're going to get a hit. Whether or not you like kill that enemy based off of their armor or whatever, you are still going to be in the realm of that enemy. And in top-down Zeldas, you do not have targeting. There is no targeting system. It is, you have to do it. Especially, when I was recording my little Link to the Past thing, I was getting absolutely stomped, because like you have to be on a certain side of the enemy in order to, if they have a shield, like that shield is very much like in the way of you doing anything. Their sword is going to interact with your sword in a way that you are not doing damage to them. And then of course they can just like swarm you and stand on top of you. And the second that your iframes like are gone, you're immediately taking damage again. And so you absolutely can get swarmed by enemies. And that just kind of doesn't really happen in a 3D Zelda experience, at least from, and I've played almost every Zelda game, or almost every 3D, well, yes, every Zelda game, but almost every 3D Zelda game that exists. And there's just no real threat. If I'm playing 2 hours of A Link to the Past, I'm going to die over 10 times. And I can't remember the last time I died outside of me doing something stupid in Ocarina of Time. Like, it was never because an enemy overcame me. It's because I am dumb. So,
well, we had this discussion with Pulse a couple of episodes. Or was it last episode? 2 episodes ago? What, last episode?
It was last episode, yeah.
About he was defending Zelda 2, and we were trying to let him do that. But what I'm hearing is you enjoy an experience with more of a technical challenge where it takes finesse. It requires more from you in combat. Talk a little bit about the puzzle aspect between a 2D versus a 3D. So, like, do you find more puzzles in the 2D experience than the 3D, or do you feel like they're on the same level, or do you feel like one's more challenging than the other?
So I do like 2D or top-down puzzle experiences better because everything is laid right there for you. You just have to figure it out. With 3D, there's a lot of searching, and you might not know exactly what it is because it's not made immediately obvious. And I think that the reason that there have been Zeldas that I've started and then not finished was specifically because I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm even supposed to be looking for because there's so many turns and corners and I'm thinking immediately, my first thought is of the Forest Temple in Ocarina of Time. Like, especially even just like the first block puzzle of, getting up to the top floor is so difficult. Even with little arrows on the ground, it's so difficult to kind of really understand what you're supposed to be doing until you watch someone else do it. And for me, I have no problem looking up a guide online. And I feel like with Zelda games, I find myself looking up guides for 3D Zeldas more than I do for top-down because, again, everything is just right there. You mess up and you recognize immediately that you've messed up. And a really good example of this is in A Link to the Past, in the little thieves hideout area in the top of Kakariko, where there's the 4 chests and it's the block pushing puzzle. And I mean, you'll do it and then you'll recognize, oh, I've just screwed myself. I can't get to this last chest. So you leave the room and then you come back in and it's reset and you get to try again. But again, all of the information is right there and readily available. And now it is up to you as the player to figure that out once you've been given all of the pieces. Whereas with 3D Zeldas, it's more like, we're going to throw a bunch of stuff at you and good luck, hope you figure it out. So I really do appreciate the puzzles. And honestly, I feel this way about pretty much every mechanic in a top-down Zelda, that I feel like the map is easier to deal with. I don't really like using the maps in 3D Zeldas, especially like dungeon maps. It takes me a little bit longer than I'm comfortable dealing with to even look at the map. And I'm remembering the water temple in Ocarina of Time. Everybody's got their feelings about the water temple. I didn't like water temple until I knew how to do it without the map, because I think the map makes it so much more confusing than it needs to be.
Yeah, I can understand that. I definitely think the maps in the 3D Zeldas have gradually gotten better. Definitely, 2D Zelda kind of lends itself to maps because apart from anything else, you're looking at it at the same perspective, aren't you, as the actual map? So it's a lot easier to kind of get your head around. Yeah. I mean, just from the outside, like the higher up view, I definitely disagree with you on the primary thing that the 2D Zeldas are better.
Do.
Yeah, I think you kind of knew that I was going to say that.
Most people do, yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, I definitely agree with you on the handholdy elements. That is definitely something that I've noticed, and that you've obviously noticed as well. The 3D Zelda games generally are a lot more handholdy, and I don't think
they expect that you're not gonna know where to go if they don't drag you along, screaming and kicking by the arm.
Yeah,
and that's how it kind of feels.
I mean, I think we can all agree that Skyward Sword was way too handholdy, just in general. I think they've kind of pulled away from that a little bit with the newer games. But I mean, I kind of had you say about the puzzles. I kind of had the opposite experience to you. because it's not very often that I come across a puzzle in a 3D Zelda game that completely stumps me. But I've actually had a couple of experiences relatively recently with 2D Zeldas that have been quite negative. The first one was with the Link's Awakening remake. Keep in mind that I'd never played the original. It was the first time I ever played it. I was playing it on my own in bed, and it was just a bit too obtuse for me, especially the dungeons. I got a little bit annoyed with it. And one of the really sort of good examples of this was there was one particular room in quite an early dungeon where you're up against 3 enemies. One is a Stalfos, I think. One is a Keese, and one is some sort of bunny thing called a Tuk-Tuk or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And you kill them, and nothing happens. And I'm like, right, okay. So then you explore the dungeon as the game expects you, which is absolutely fine. You come across one of these owl statues that gives you a hint, and the hint is something like Stalfos, Keese, Tuk-Tuk. And I'm like, right, okay, great. I need to kill them in that order. So I killed them in that order. Bish, bash, bosh. I did it. But then I'm sitting there thinking, I only know the names of the enemies because I'm a massive Zelda dork. How is anybody else supposed to get that? You know, if that's the first game that you've ever played in the Zelda franchise, I mean, yeah, fair enough. Back in the day, if you played it on the Game Boy, maybe you've got, you know, like an instruction booklet that gives you that information. Mm-hmm. But if you're playing it on the Switch, who's gonna know? You know,
that's kind of a huge gripe that I have with a lot of these remakes, is that it expects that you have played the original, and that you know everything about this game, and that's why you're purchasing the remake, is that you wanted the fresh experience. Nintendo has kind of been doing a lot of this lately, where it feels like it's kind of catering to us, the, you know, former children that enjoyed all of these games back in the 80s and 90s. It's not really good for new gamers, and I think that it's going to be like tearing them apart. Tearing them apart, but tearing them away from it.
And that's why I'm such a huge advocate for the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom direction, is because, like, we're going to talk about the timeline in a second, but they're essentially resetting the timeline. They're creating a new place for us to live, and this echoes of wisdom. So. You know what I mean? Like, this Echoes of Wisdom thing is, I think, an amuse-bouche, if you will, between Tears of the Kingdom and what's coming next. But something we've talked about on the podcast before is that the Zelda games you enjoy are often informed very heavily by what your first Zelda game was.
Definitely.
And so my first Zelda game was Link to the Past. And so I played that a ton. I never finished it when I was a kid because we didn't have guides or anything like that. I just played it for fun. I finally finished it as an adult on the Switch. So it's fine. But because that was my first experience, I have a skill set in my brain space that makes me more open to things like Link's Awakening. Whereas Mellar, I think you said your first was Ocarina of Time. So Mellar's childhood experience is 3D Zelda. And so he's going to defend 3D Zelda because that's what comes most easily to him. Whereas
when you get used to the puzzles in one, the puzzles in the other look completely crazy.
Yes, because when we're young, our brains are very malleable, and what we repeat over and over gets stuck in here. And so since I skipped Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess and all of that, going back to, for those of you that were there for like the 2 streams I tried to play Ocarina of Time, it's a nightmare. It's like going from Link to the Past to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and then trying to come back to make those controls make sense was the worst feeling in my entire life. It was the worst. And that's what Mellar's experiencing when he's trying to play Link's Awakening, because he doesn't have the 2D stuff in his brain space from when his brain was malleable. Can he learn it? Sure. Could I beat my head against a wall and get used to Ocarina of Time? Absolutely. Am I going to do it? No.
Well,
There's
it is
too
worth
many
noting. I
games to
mean,
play.
it's not like it was my first 2D Zelda game. You know, I played Phantom
Well, no,
Hourglass and I
I'm
didn't hate it. And I think
I'm
that Link
saying-
Between
I'm
Worlds
s-
is a fantastic game. I recommend to anyone.
But the point I'm making is that you have more fun in the 3D world because that was how you started.
The first one you enjoyed.
Sure.
The first
Yeah.
one you really enjoyed, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
we're not saying you don't like the 2D ones. We're just saying that if you had to choose, if you had to
And I
spend
think
some
I kind of want
quality
to,
time.
yeah. And I want to expand on that a little bit because, again, I didn't play a Zelda game until I was 15, and I'd like played a little bit of Ocarina of Time, not a whole lot. I got my 64 when I was 18, and I played Ocarina of Time, kind of like put it down because there were a couple of parts that I was stuck. And then when I was 23, I played A Link to the Past. However, I got a Super Nintendo for my sixth. It was Christmas when I was 6. So in 1996, I got a Super Nintendo, and I had Donkey Kong Country, I had Super Mario All-Stars, and Super Mario World. And for years, that was it. I just played 2D Mario. And so I think that the 2D world in and of itself is very comforting to me because, again, everything is very, of course there's going to be secrets. There's always going to be secrets in a game. That's how they get you, but having everything very clearly laid out for me where I could take all of this information and build something out of it instead of having to search around for the information. And I think that, obviously when they went to a 3D space, it was how can we make these puzzles more than what they were in the 2D Zeldas? So, like, of course, I'd seen, I don't remember exactly who it was, maybe it was Manus, but somebody had mentioned that when you're in like a dungeon in A Link to the Past, some of those tricks, some of the puzzles are just pushing a random block in a certain direction, and that's what opens the door. But like when you don't have a whole lot on the screen and there's only 7 blocks and you kind of like it takes you a second and you're like
It's
pushing
trial and
against
error,
stuff
guys.
and it is very trial and error.
Go in,
but then
try a
again,
thing. It doesn't work, go out.
and this goes back to my original point is that yes, they are very challenging and it's not immediately obvious what you're supposed to do, but then the rewarding feeling that you get from actually completing it, I think, in my opinion, is way more I appreciate that more than just, there's, for example, in the Forest Temple, the third Poe sister that you fight, when you shoot the thing and then the blocks fall down and you just have to push them together into the picture or whatever. Like, that was their way of trying to take like a very clearly 2D top-down puzzle and bring it into a 3D space, and it was just completely lost. Never mind the fact that, I mean, even though the timer is like kind of short, it was just way too easy. It was way too easy. And I think that they kind of did that with 3D puzzles. You didn't really have to use a whole lot of your brain to finally, once you had figured out where all the pieces are, putting them together was the easy part. It was searching for those pieces in all of these little nooks and crannies that the 3D space provides that made it more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was those moments that I mentioned earlier that kind of turned me off. I actually never finished Link's Awakening. I got to the point with it where I kept having to, like, I was searching around for the answer and I couldn't figure it out, so I had to Google it. And I got to the point where I was like, if I have to Google something else for this game, I quit. And within 10 minutes, I was like, what is going on here? I've traveled everywhere in this dungeon. I've done everything. And I looked it up and it was stupid. I was like, okay, I'm done here. And that's kind of like...
Also, if it makes you feel any better, I played 15 minutes of Link's Awakening and I did not like it.
Yeah.
So.
But then...
I don't know if it's just the game or...
I played Link to the Past as well for the first time a couple of months ago, and I actually had a very similar experience to what Angry Angel had with Ocarina of Time. I just didn't get on with it. I just couldn't do it. Like, I got a bit further because I got to... I was about halfway through the 3rd dungeon. I didn't get to Dark World, but... I was just like, I was dying all the time, and I felt like what's the word? The punishment for dying felt really just too much. Like, it's quite a lot in Ocarina of Time, especially if you die in a dungeon. But like just sort of you come back to life outside of the dungeon with 3 hearts and no fairies, and I'm just like, great. I don't know where to get fairies. I don't know what I'm doing, and it just got to the point where I felt like I was bashing my head against a brick wall and I gave up. You know, I do think that the games just in general are a lot harder to go back to. Whereas I think that like it's hard, obviously, because I've played all the 3D Zelda games as they came out, basically, apart from Majora's Mask. And Majora's Mask is so similar, at least in the way that it plays, to Ocarina of Time. I don't really feel like I've had that experience where I've gone back to a 3D game in the same way that Angel has. So I don't have any experience there, but I've never really had a negative experience with any of the 3D games. Yeah, Fi is the most annoying character in any video game ever, but other than that, I actually think that Skyward Sword's not a bad game. I just really wish that she didn't exist. I really enjoyed my playthrough of Skyward Sword.
Significantly worse on the Wii.
Yeah, well,
I'm really glad that it came out on the Switch, because I dropped Skyward Sword on the Wii and I did not get up until I got it on the Switch a couple months ago.
yeah. I mean, even
I had fully intended to never finish Skyward Sword.
no, it's worth playing to the end, because apart from anything else, the
I agree.
ending is
I agree.
amazing. And it's like, you know, the things that happen in it, especially for like a franchise fan, you know, you get the Triforce, it's fucking brilliant. But yeah, my point is that I've only had negative experiences with the 2D Zelda games. Not all of them. Like I say, I thought that the Link Between Worlds was honestly one of the best Zelda games. It's such a good game. It's fantastic. If you haven't played
It really
play
is. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, but generally, yeah, I've only had good experiences really with the 3Ds, and I've had quite a few negative experiences now. If interestingly, only recently. If you'd have asked me about a year ago, I would have been a lot more neutral. But there we go.
A valuable lesson I've learned is not to offer up a game that I have not already tried or I know that I'm going to like. So offering up, like there was a community challenge where I offered up playing Skyrim. I hated Skyrim. Bethesda games are not my jam, not even close. And I had to stop, and I felt bad because I had promised, like the community had given their channel points to get me to play Skyrim, and I just couldn't anymore. It wasn't fun for me. Same thing with Ocarina of Time. I did the challenge to play Ocarina of Time. I was like, I cannot play this game. I can't do it. So I think something that all streamers, because part of this podcast is talking about streaming and streamers and how to do that better, is if you are not having fun, you aren't doing it right.
You've got to have fun as a streamer, otherwise it's going to come through.
You have to be having fun on stream, because like Red Dead Redemption 2 is a perfect example. I was having fun until it turned into I just ride my horse everywhere for a million years and nothing happens. And for a while there, I was like angry playing it, and I was having fun, like making fun of it and being angry about it, and the chat was having fun. And then eventually that went to boredom. And when it clicks to boredom for me, it's a deal breaker. And so you have to make that decision as the streamer to say, I gave it a full faith effort. I can't do this anymore. I'm not having fun. The viewers at like the community that you build has to want you to be happy too.
Yeah,
they have like the people that are showing up in your chat should care if you're having fun.
And that was honestly, I really do appreciate that, because like I said, I had a lot of people coming in, like, you know, I try to keep the backseating to a minimum, because I know, you know, I'm not going to turn this into that kind of conversation. I know what I am and how the vast majority of gamers feel about what I am and what I do as a person that I am, and looks at me and thinks there is no way I could possibly know how to play video games, and it is their obligation as a gamer to tell me how to play every game that I've ever played, regardless of how many times that I've played it. And I'm sick
Where
of
my
it.
ladies
I'm
at?
sick of it. Thank you. So I'm sick of it. And that's why I have, like, if you want to backseat my channel and you're not a VIP or a moderator, you got to spend 10,000 points. Sorry, bud. That's just how it is. But if you come in and I have a bunch of no backseating literally everywhere, and then you're backseating, we're going to have a problem, because this is just a very clear and obvious. You have made it clear to me that you do not respect me, nor my time, nor what I'm trying to do here, that you would come in and try to play a game for me. If you want to play it so bad, go play it. Leave my channel.
Amen.
I don't want you to be here. But in the same vein, you all know Commander Griffin. He really loves the Metal Gear Solid games, and I am so thankful for him for getting me through most of everything that I got through. I mean, I would say pretty much every big major boss, Griff was the one that was kind of like, this is what you've got to do. This is what, but it was because I was asking. I was asking for that. And then, of course, the battle that I wasn't able to do, it was not because I didn't know how to do it. It is because it was a very stressful experience, and I couldn't make my stupid hands do the thing with the controller that was supposed to be done. And I was like, it's just not fun for me anymore. I'm just going to quit playing this game. This is not the game that I want to play now.
It is a stressful game because you're trying to hide, and all of a sudden it plays that bloody sound. Like, oh my god! And then it plays that music.
So stressful.
Oh my god! And the controls aren't very good on the in my opinion, in the first one, because I played the fourth one, and the fourth one's quite a good game. But there's one part where you go back to Shadow Moses and play literally the first level of the first game in Metal Gear Solid 4, and it changes the graphics back to PS1 graphics. It changes the controls back to PS1 controls, and it was probably the hardest part of the game for me. I was absolutely just like, what am I doing? Like, what button am I pressing? It's a stressful game to play. Honestly, I can completely see why you didn't want to continue.
The first one is like the worst, that it is the hardest Metal Gear Solid game, but something in my brain is blocking me from being able to just jump to Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I'll just get over that. I think I would like to eventually try 2 and 3, but it's not going to happen on stream. I will tell you that right now. I'm holding myself to that. I'm not streaming those games because it's just not fun for me.
Yeah, that's
it is it's our job as streamers to entertain. Otherwise, why am I going live? Why would I not just play the game off stream if I didn't want to entertain my community?
Indeed.
And so at a certain point, if my community is only finding entertainment out of making fun of me and making me feel bad, that's not the community I want. So I'm not going to put my community in a position where that's the only entertainment value that I have to offer them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to loop the conversation now back to Zelda.
Sure, sorry.
No, it's okay. That was really
Why are
interesting in the combat. I find, especially in the older 3D Zeldas, pretty much all of the combat kind of boils down to waiting. In Ocarina of Time, their shield's up or whatever, and you're waiting for their shield to be down. A good example, Stalfos, Wolfos. In Wind Waker, you're waiting for the opportunity to be able to parry, but it still boils down to waiting. And they didn't really start dispelling it. Even in Skyward Sword, you've got those enemies with the electric. You're kind of waiting for them to get their guard down, aren't you? Until you can attack.
Exactly.
Whereas I feel like the combat in the 2D Zeldas kind of boils down to button mashing. If I'm brutally honest, it's very much just how quickly can you press the A button, and that is true of all of the 3Ds of the 2D Zeldas, even the good ones, in my opinion. Like even Link Between Worlds, it very much kind of boils down to button mashing, and I definitely prefer waiting to button mashing. I mean, I don't like waiting either, but I'd rather wait for an opportunity and the game to be, you've got to get the timing right rather than just. That's just my preference, and also it is harder as well. I don't really I don't enjoy games that expect you to die often. Generally, Ori and the Ori series is an exception to that, because the Ori games are amazing and you die a lot in those games. But generally, I mean, the way that the Ori games work, I think, is because there's very little repercussions to dying, but in the Zelda games there normally is. And you have to, go around, okay, where can I get a fairy and all this kind of thing. So.
Right. And I think that for me, again, it kind of brings it back around to the idea that, yes, they are incredibly challenging, but it is the reward versus challenge. Like, does it feel like appropriately balanced? Like, yes, it's very difficult, but when you finally do beat it, it feels really, really good versus... I mean, maybe it is the same for 3D Zeldas, but like on a way more like diluted version, right? Like there's no real challenge and there's no real reward either. And so it kind of just feels like a chore almost. Like it's just a thing that you have to do to progress the game. But I don't know. The idea of having like that obligation in my games almost kind of takes the fun out of it. And of course, I really don't like dying in video games either. But I think that when you know that reward is there and you know what's on the other side, where you beat this puzzle and you get this awesome item, or you get the pendants and then you go get the master sword or whatever, and it really does like push forward that sense of I have to do this. This is
and it's not
destiny almost, and it doesn't really feel that way in the legend, like in a Zelda game. If it doesn't feel like there's a real challenge to it, like you're just another little guy, not the hero of destiny. So
I think the 2D Zeldas are more about pattern recognition. So like you're right, like one room you have to push a random block, but then when you come into another room where there are blocks, you expect you know what to do. So like I find that the 2D or Link to the Past is the only one I can speak to, but I find that Link to the Past layers on itself. So you have to be patient and learn the initial set of patterns so that when you like Link to the Past, it's like the first thing you do teaches you all the patterns. And then the next level applies those patterns and teaches you a few new ones. And so by the time you get to Harris Tower and Turtle Rock and all that kind of stuff, you've got the flow of what's going on. And so when
if you die, it's kind of your own fault because it gave you everything you needed. You just didn't apply it appropriately. And
it wasn't explicitly given. It was done through practice. So it's like muscle memory. And so I find that that Link to the where Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom don't do this as well. The layering, like it feels like every challenge is a little bit. The only thing that Breath of the Wild did it really well, the Guardians. I feel like they were like, you need to learn to parry with your shield. You need to do it. Like you have to learn how to do this. We're gonna make you learn how to do this. And if you don't learn how to do this,
because we're gonna one-shot you. Yep.
You're gonna have a hard time. Like you're gonna have a bad time. But with Link to the Past, it's very subtle. And about halfway through the game, you start realizing that you've been behaviorally conditioned to understand how the game works. Whereas something like Skyward Sword requires a fee. I mean, it didn't require a fee. I didn't play it. Who cares? But like all I've heard from all of you is that it's too much hand holding and it's this and it's that and it's all this other stuff. But like Link to the Past is holding your hand too. They're just not talking to you about it. They're just not. They're letting.
And is it hand holding? Because I mean, there's a difference between hand holding and teaching. It's not a hand holding is we have completely condensed down this to the point that there is absolutely zero challenge and there's nothing for you to worry about. We showed you how to do this thing. There is this mechanic, and now you have to do it. But like, if you don't, it's okay.
Well,
you know, because we're still going to pull you to the end of the dungeon anyway.
I have watched people play Link's Awakening. And when I first watched someone play Link's Awakening, I said, oh, it's Link to the Past, but in 3D. So many of the mechanics, the enemies, the dungeons, everything looks like... There were a couple of dungeons where I was like, is this just a remake of Link to the Past? Like
a Link Between Worlds?
Yeah, like it felt so familiar to me. Like my brain was like, "Ooh, I recognize this."
Play a Link Between Worlds.
I recognize all of this because I had played Link to the Past, and they had taught me all these patterns already in my brain. And they're just sitting there, ready to be reused in other situations. So I think you just have to be patient with those older games because they require you to layer the learning.
So
as you go.
Am I weird then, the fact that I played through all of Breath of the Wild and never really figured out the sheer bash thing? Because you can totally kill the Guardians without it.
You can kill the Guardians
but
without
it's so much easier. You can 2 or 3 shot the Guardians just by using your shield parry, or just pulling your shield and blocking it, like pulling out your shield and using it at the moment that the laser leaves the Guardian's eye. It will reflect off of your shield and hit them directly back in the eye, and it takes a third of their health. Versus
once you can
just bashing it.
Once you can pause them for a few seconds, you can just stun lock them. They're really easy.
It also makes the Ganon fight way easier.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I didn't know how to do it the first time I played Breath of the Wild, and Calamity Ganon absolutely wrecked my stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to censor myself. I don't.
I beat Calamity Ganon 100% with just, well, not 100%, but most of them with just when he goes into Guardian mode, just reflecting it back at him.
Yep.
That's how I did most of my damage, because I my first playthrough I didn't learn it. I did like master sorting and the ancient arrows and stuff to get rid of everybody. But the second time I played, I learned the shield pairing because they were so aggressive about it.
Yeah.
And it made, oh my God, the Ganon fight was so much easier. It was like night and day.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I learned it
I agree.
for the second playthrough, and it was easier. But yeah, I wish they kept the Guardians for Tears of the Kingdom. They were really fun, actually. I liked the Guardians.
I wish they kept a lot of things for Tears of the Kingdom, but
well, we're going to talk about that in a minute.
They took away my bird daddy.
But before we do, let's move on to the second hot topic. The Zelda timeline was a mistake. So,
Goodness.
do you want to launch? I think actually, should we explain what the Zelda timeline is very briefly, because
good luck.
We could be here for a very long time.
Good luck.
Sure, I would love to. The Zelda timeline is bullshit. All right, so first point, I'm kidding. So the Zelda timeline is basically the chronology of how the Zelda games fit into the history of Hyrule. So if you know about the Zelda timeline, you know that Skyward Sword chronologically is like the first entry. And then I think it's like Minish Cap and maybe like Four Swords or something like that.
Do we have a link to like an image that we could put in chat? Because explaining this in words is gonna be rough.
Hold on, I'll get it up on the screen. I mean, I've got the book downstairs, but that's not going to come across very well. Let me actually get an image of it up on the screen.
I do know that it's page 69 of the Hyrule Historia.
Of course
so
you would.
I didn't do it, Mellar. I didn't do it.
At the bottom of the screen, and then put the timeline in like the showy screen.
Right, so it's in. Oh, let's put that over there. It's on the screen now. For anyone who wants to see it. It's not got the highest. There we go. Fidelity. There we go. That's better. So this is the timeline. It starts off and then it splits on Ocarina of Time, and it gets super duper confusing. Yep. And
that's the part I have a problem with. That is the main issue I have with the timeline, is that, okay, so the way that the timeline splits at Ocarina of Time, there is the child, and this is all at the end of the game. So there is the child timeline where Link gets taken back to being a child. There is the adult timeline where Link remains an adult. And then there is the third timeline where the hero falls to Ganon and dies. My big issue is that only one of those things happened. Only one of those things happened at the end of that game. I remember very clearly, and I've beaten Ocarina of Time a lot of times in the past 5 months. There is only one thing that happens, and that is the child timeline, where Zelda sends Link back to being a child, and then Majora's Mask, essentially, right? Because Navi leaves at the end of Ocarina of Time, and then Link is just left alone with this, like, what I assume is an abundance of cursed knowledge. Ocarina of Time did not end with Link remaining an adult. Ocarina of Time did not end with Ganon defeating me. Otherwise, I would not have gotten a game over and then reloaded from my previous save and then gone back and had another shot. So that's why I think in my mind it is very difficult for me to understand why that was even necessary, for them to just create that. And I think that a lot of it had to do with Zelda fans needing to know, which,
like, what if?
I get it. Yeah, well, and not even really that, but it's just like, oh, what games came in this order? And I get it when you own all of these games and they are seemingly all connected through the name. you get this idea that I want to play it chronologically, and you see it on Twitch a lot, people doing chronological playthroughs of the Zelda franchise, which I totally understand, and I'm not upset about that at all. However, I think that, like, really, did it need to happen like that? Really, could it not just be a series of non-connected Zelda stories? Because a lot of it is just, folklore passed down. We hear a lot about that pretty much at the beginning of most Zeldas, is this is a story that was passed down through ages. So it's not really nonfiction, and it's all like very, through the lens of people who told the story from that point of view. Does it need to be put in stone? And that's exactly what happened with the timeline, is that they put all of this into stone when it was unnecessary. It created holes in the plot that didn't need to be there.
Do we have a year where this was created? When was the concept of a Zelda timeline birthed?
But the thing
so
is,
it was after Skyward Sword, but before Breath of the Wild. So in that like 5 years between 2012 and 2017.
The thing is,
here's why this exists.
It was a fan theory a long time before it was canon.
Fan theory.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of nerds on the internet needing to put things into a spreadsheet and into a flowchart.
That's what I just said. That's what I just said. People needed to know, and then they like pushed Nintendo to be like, we need this. And it was just another thing for Nintendo to be like, okay, well, we'll put it on the book, or like in a page on this one book. Now go buy the book.
But they didn't, though. They hired a fan to make it for them, and then they published it. Do you know what I mean?
But does it matter? Does it matter though?
Yes, because there's so many video games that are out right now that do that exact same thing. So much of the Destiny timeline is based on fan theory. Instead of sticking to the original story that they created before Destiny 1 launched, they have been doing so many storylines because of what they've read on Reddit. Or what My Name is Bife posted as a theory on YouTube, or whatever. Like, so many video games do this thing. Oh, I guess I can point up this, where if it gets another set of nerd eyeballs on the series, talking about it online, fighting about it online. Again, we talked about this earlier, the 2D versus 3D. Like, these are just arguments that drive engagement in YouTube comment sections, in Reddit, threads, Reddit. I don't even know what
subreddits.
Subreddits, yes, that's the word. It's just driving engagement on the internet, because that's what happened after 2010. Is the internet blew up, everybody used the internet, everybody was on Facebook, Twitter was born, all this stuff. And we needed eyeballs, we needed likes, we needed follows, we needed all of this junk. And that's what this is. That's what this is. This is to make a lot of people angry so that they post a bunch of comments on a YouTube thing or on a website so that they can say that it's popular, or that it's a thing, or they can sell books that have it. So you can have it in book form.
I bought the book. I mean, I bought all 3 books, but that's because I was a fan. So I guess like the big thing for me is, again, like I said, there are plot holes, and I kind of want to, instead of immediately speaking on that, I kind of want to move into where I think it should go from here, because Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are not part of this timeline, obviously.
I mean, they've tried to put it in here, haven't they? But...
Well, fans have, yes.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately what I would probably like to see is just for Nintendo to be like, hey, when we made all of these games, it was just fun, and we were really focused more on like the individual stories, and we were focused on the mechanics of the game for the console that they came out for. It wasn't really supposed to be tied together. We did this for you all because it's all about the fans and whatever gooey, heartwarming bull crap that they're going to sell to us to make us think that they care about us in any capacity, of course. However, I think what they'll probably end up doing, and what I would like to see them do, is to be like, okay, you all care so much about the lore, you care so much about these timelines, Breath of the Wild started it. So now Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are a completely new timeline.
Yep. And that's what it is.
But the thing is what we need to all remember, because I feel like a lot of people don't really think about this, because people have tried to put Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild into the existing timeline. But when you do that, what you need to recognize, and something that honestly, I wouldn't say it keeps me up at night, but it's definitely something that I think about often. Zelda or Skyward Sword was the very first game in the series. So tell me why the Lanayru mining district was already an ancient civilization turned ruins.
When did Skyward Sword come out? What
2011.
Year? Yep.
2011. So Skyward Sword it was all, oh, this is so fresh, and this is the beginning of the franchise, and all of this is new when Hyrule was young, right? But then again, there's a whole desert filled with ruins of an ancient civilization that you use time stones on in order to revert it back to what it used to be. And then again, let's remember, Tears of the Kingdom, the memories from Tears of the Kingdom are from a civilization that has been gone. This is the birth of Hyrule.
Ritacrash made a good point in the chat. And honestly, Ritacrash, I didn't think about the Marvel, the MCU, but you're absolutely right. I think Iron Man came out in 2008 or 2009. That's absolutely what this is. This is again, it's an internet thing, but it's also like a popular media thing where everybody has to have a connection to everything else, because then you can market this based on that, and that connects to this, but this is its own thing, but this part of this is this. There were brain worms in all media, TV, video games, movies, because everybody tried to capture the MCU magic that started with Iron Man and went all the way through to 2020, and not all media can do that. That's kind of its own thing. But from 2010 to 2020, this kind of stuff was infecting everything. Books, video games, movies, TV shows, all of it. If you go back and look at the popular stuff from 2010 to 2020, I bet you could make a list of stuff that was doing exactly this.
And it's all bull. Every single bit of it. It's not necessary, though.
I agree.
For Zelda, it's not necessary because these are all myths. Each one of these can be its own story. They don't have to be connected. But other people making new stuff could make it make sense, because you didn't have a game that came out in like 1981.
Exactly.
You had to have make sense with a game that just came out in 2012. Do you know what I mean?
Which is why this is a mistake.
Yes.
But what they could do with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom could mean something.
It could make sense because they're creating a new foundation, and I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I definitely think that they're trying to move away, aren't they, from this?
So this might not have been a hot topic. I'm sorry.
No, not at all, because I mean, we all agree, because they're definitely trying to move away from this, aren't they, with the new games, because they don't fit in this chronology at all. Like you say, people are trying to fit it in, but it doesn't.
The only way they do, again, is just from the memories of Tears of the Kingdom being the answer to why there are ancient ruins in Skyward Sword.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's the only thing, because again, all of these sky islands, in Tears of the Kingdom, anyway, but all of these sky islands, it makes sense that people would create land cities on top of these floating masses. So yeah, that's why I could see
and then
where it would fall in, but then again, nothing else really falls in except for just that one part.
But that kind of goes to that's what something that Manus says, because Tears of the Kingdom already clashes with Breath of the Wild. It kind of goes into what I was already about to say, because I mean, this Fallen Hero timeline, it, like you say, it's crap, because it's a bit of a cop out, because it's like, if the hero of time had died, this would have happened, and these are all of the old games, because they obviously didn't have any sort of connected timeline in mind early doors. The first time I ever heard of this kind of idea of these three different timelines was around the time when Twilight Princess was around, because Twilight Princess and Wind Waker so clearly don't happen on the same timeline. Like it's very difficult to kind of marry them together, and this is where this whole sort of split timeline thing came in as a fan theory. And I think literally this is an example, one of probably not that many examples I can think of, where a company has listened to its fans and it probably shouldn't have. Because they've around the time that Skyward Sword was new, they made it canon by adding it to the Hyrule Historia. And it's a lovely fan theory, but I don't think it works as a canon, because like when I was a kid, I always saw these games as completely separate. And in actual fact, a lot of them, apart from maybe Skyward Sword, are a lot of fun if you take them as their own single thing. I mean, sometimes you get like a direct sequel, like Majora's Mask is a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time, and Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks are direct sequels of Wind Waker, but generally speaking, I always kind of saw it on a very similar kind of thing to Final Fantasy. Like each time the Final Fantasy number goes up, it's a completely different story. Yet some of the characters are named the same thing, but they're different people. You know, it's a completely different world. It's a completely different story. It's got a completely different narrative. And I always kind of saw it that way, even when it was just a fan theory. And I really like the fan theories. I love fan theories of this game, but I kind of feel like most of them need to stay as fan theories, man. And I feel like this is very much that, because they've kind of written themselves into a hole. And I think they're kind of realizing this now. And I'd be very interested to find out where they go with the next game, the next full game, not the one that's been announced. Because the more games that come out, the more this doesn't work. And I don't think it ever really worked in the first place, to be honest. I'm not quite as... Because I'm all right with the adult and the child timeline. The adult timeline, for some reason, on this is called the Missing Hero timeline. The Fallen Hero is the one that I've always kind of had a problem with, but I can see what you mean as well. With like the only one that really happens, the one that you see at the end of Ocarina of Time, is the child timeline. Yeah,
absolutely. And I actually did just see Gigabooty asked why and how are there two Temple of Times in Tears of the Kingdom, and I'd never actually considered that, but I thought about it for just a moment. I do want to say, obviously, in Skyward Sword you have Skyloft, which has like the goddess statue, which is like their version of like the Temple of Time, but then like Hyrule was very clearly like formed on the surface world. So I think that the Great Sky Island that you start on in Tears of the Kingdom is like the remains of Skyloft, which was the main island in the sky that Skyloft was formed on. And then of course you have the goddess statue, Temple of Time. I actually can't exactly remember what they called it in Skyward Sword, which is embarrassing because I only just played Skyward Sword very recently. But I guess it kind of makes sense
there also was
because
in
Skyward Sword,
there was one in Skyward Sword as well. There's a Temple of Time in the Lanayru province, isn't there?
Yes.
So it's one of those as well.
It's Farron or somewhere. Is it in Farron? I can't remember exactly where it is. But yes, like where Impa is. Yeah. And then
the Sealed
also
Temple,
again,
right,
there is the Sealed Temple, exactly. And that becomes like the Temple of Time. So that honestly kind of makes sense because there were two very central areas in Skyward Sword where really important timey-wimey stuff happened. So there was like the goddess temple or whatever it is up in Skyloft, and then the Sealed Temple on the surface. So it would kind of make sense why there are two Temple of Times, because it's for two different eras, and those temples weren't destroyed, or one wasn't destroyed because the other one was born.
The wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff, exactly.
I kind of like thinking about where they might go from here, and thinking about like Ganon has to come back because that's the balance, right? Like he's the power. That is the Persian way. So what I see with Echoes of Wisdom is them taking the mechanics of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and keeping that fresh for us. So the idea that you can create stuff, that you can push stuff together. They're introducing this idea that you can copy stuff and remember stuff. I I would love the idea of a game, and you guys are going to hate this. I would love the idea of a game where it's co-op, where one of you plays as Link and one of you plays as Zelda, and you can play by yourself or you can play with somebody. It can be a single player game. It can be a single player experience. But I would love if where they are going with this is a game where you can play as Zelda or Link, and Ganon has been reborn, and they've kept him in hiding, and we're like 20 years later from Tears of the Kingdom or something, and we're rebuilding. Like, we just started to rebuild Hyrule in Tears of the Kingdom. We're literally rebuilding now. So Zelda's using her wand to like put beds in houses and tables, and Link's battling the remaining enemies from Calamity Ganon and from oh my god,
Daddy Dwarf.
what do I want? What's the word I want?
Daddy Dwarf.
Yeah, Daddy Dwarf.
Gloom Ganon.
Not Gloom Ganon. Demon King Ganon.
Demon King. Okay, gotcha.
Daddy Dwarf.
We've cleared out all the Lionels. We've cleared out all the stuff. We're almost there. And then, like, in that intro where we're like putting somebody's house back together with magic, something happens. And Ganon reemerges as like a new Ganon. He's reborn.
I genuinely don't think that Ganon is going to be the antagonist in the next game, and I kind of hope that it's not, because I feel like we've had enough Ganon for now. We need to go back. Yeah, maybe Vati, or maybe a new one. That would be fun as well, like a completely new antagonist.
Or Demise again.
Or Demise. God, no, not Demise. Never Demise.
That's Ganon.
Okay,
like
no. Ganon is the reincarnation of Demise. Demise came first.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like
Demise was first, and then
to be a reincarnation of something, it's you. You've been it's your spirit is reincarnated into the next thing. Like,
yes, so Ganon is Demise, not the other way around.
Well, whatever, but they're all the same thing.
I just wanted to make sure. Yeah.
It's the spirit of the power part of the Triforce.
Mm-hmm.
And those of us that are casual Zelda fans know that as Ganon. Or Ganondorf. Demise is a one-time, one-game thing. Every other game I've played, he's been called Ganon or Ganondorf.
I'm so sorry, Angel. I can't be a casual Zelda gamer with you. I'm so sorry.
I'm
just going to shut up.
I know too many things.
But you can bring in an antagonist, and that's fine. But it's going to have to be something new while we're waiting for the game that brings back whatever reincarnation or new concept of Ganon is coming, because Ganon / Demise or whatever is the third part. He has to exist. So if we're going to take a break from Ganon, which I agree, that might be nice, it's got to be something that makes sense, because eventually Ganon in some form has to come back into this relationship.
But does it have to make sense? That's kind of our point. Like, maybe the game should go back to how they used to be, where each game is just a completely separate entity and completely ignores the lore of the previous games.
When people start asking for a timeline, we just say, no, you don't get a timeline. Yeah. Just figure it out, play it how you want it. It's all just a mismatch of stories that have been passed down through time. There is no connecting feature to any of them. It's just, and of course that's how time works, right? They existed at some point in time, and I get it, but it wasn't necessary.
But all signs point to them realizing they made a mistake. I think Nintendo agrees with you that they made a mistake trying to make all those past standalone games in a timeline.
Yeah, because they added plot holes that weren't necessary. It didn't need to happen.
All signs point to them heading towards a place where they can provide a timeline without holes.
And that's what I'm hoping Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom does.
But that's the thing is, do you want them to go back? Because we're saying two different things. Do you want them to go back to a world where each game is a standalone thing? Or do you want them to have a timeline that makes sense with no plot holes?
So
based on legend?
Then we're not going to be able to make
a timeline. This is my thing. I don't mind a timeline. I don't care about that. I mind, it's not on the screen anymore, but I mind that one. I think that one is bad. It is very bad. I don't like either do it right or don't do it at all. I don't care. I just don't like this.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I mean, I think they've gotten to the point now where they've written themselves into a place where they can't make a timeline that's going to make any sense that isn't this. So if they're going to do anything, they basically have to just ditch it, I think. And I do feel like that's kind of what they're trying to do at this moment in time. So we'll see. But yeah, I definitely agree with you on this.
Game review.
Right, so excuse me, if you're just listening, now is a really good time to bring your eyes to the screen, because we're going to be watching a review. This is a review I did of Tears of the Kingdom after playing it through once. So without any further ado, let's watch this together. 3, 2, 1, play. Tears of the Kingdom marks the 12th main entry to the epic fantasy franchise The Legend of Zelda, and serves as a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, set around 5 years after the conclusion. I think I have to start by actually expressing a slight quandary, as I felt quite disappointed that the game was as similar to Breath of the Wild as it is. And yet I feel that it's a major contributing factor to what makes the game so great. Seriously, a lot of it is exactly the same. Instead of calamity, you have gloom, which functions extremely similarly. The world of Hyrule is almost exactly the same, with a few exceptions. A lot of the food ingredients are the same, the cooking is the same, the combat is the same, the stables and horses are the same, the towns and villages are the same. Heck, even the blood moons are exactly the same, just with a slightly modified video and a new voiceover. Even all the characters are the same, although this actually contributes to a rather excellent theme of growth, as a lot of the major players in this title were either side or main players in Breath of the Wild. I felt disappointed partially because, as I said in my Breath of the Wild review, that I would prefer them to return back to the old formula. But also, at first glance, when I buy a game for £60 and it feels like a clone of a game I already have, I feel ripped off. But then I got into all the new stuff and a lot of my disappointment ebbed away. And that's because Breath of the Wild was great, and pretty much everything one could complain was wrong with it is fixed in Tears of the Kingdom. The story is far more fleshed out, the shrines are significantly more engaging, and the addition of the Sky World and the Depths World not only posed new and interesting challenges, but also kept things fresh gameplay-wise, as when a particular world started to feel tiring, it was easy just to set your sights on the next world. These other worlds also feed into what I believe is this game's greatest strength, which is its atmosphere. The game sets an amazing, epic atmosphere right from the start and manages to hold on to it with a vice-like grip all the way to the dramatic and gripping finale. This is done in part with liberal but crucially not overuse of the game's Depths world, which between the gloomy atmosphere, pun intended, the difficulty in seeing, and therefore navigating, and the gloom mechanic, which semi-permanently blocks off health from being recovered until either a way is found to dispel it, or the player leaves the depths entirely. This really adds not only to the foreboding atmosphere, but also manages to make every trip to the depths feel like a dangerous adventure, which I do believe is a primary focus of Zelda in general. Where this atmosphere really peaks is in the temples, a very, very welcome return since their absence in Breath of the Wild. I have to say that thematically, visually, sonically, and again in terms of atmosphere, they get top marks from me. Unfortunately, I can't help but note that mechanically, the temples are actually exactly the same as the Divine Beasts, just without the gimmick of being able to move the dungeon. Seriously, find and press these 4 to 6 points within the dungeon, there's no functional difference. As much as these temples are a marked improvement on the Divine Beasts, each having their own unique themes and, I'll say it again, incredible atmospheres, I would still dearly like to see a return to the older formula of proper linear or semi-linear temples. Changing the subject now, I do feel that overall, the difficulty of Tears of the Kingdom is a marked increase from Breath of the Wild. For example, I didn't really have any issues with the shrines in Breath of the Wild, where I was stumped on a few in Tears of the Kingdom. I feel a large part of this is due to the new mechanics being quite complex, especially when compared to Breath of the Wild's relatively simple ones. The ability to fuse objects into weapons and shields is a little confusing at first, but it's explained well by the UI, while the Ultra Hand ability, coupled with the Zonai devices, opens almost endless possibilities for machines that can be built. Although I have to say that I did find the construction finicky and occasionally frustrating, especially before obtaining the upgrade that allows you to recreate a previously made creation with only a few clicks. This did once or twice create a situation where the game felt too clever for its own good, and maybe one or two of the puzzles felt a little on the side of obtuse, but overall the skill set felt pretty intuitive and really only added to the feeling of exploration. I have to say actually, I love the way the three game worlds are so nicely connected, from the sky to Hyrule, then dropping through certain rifts on Hyrule down to the depths below, with semi-regular roadblocks being placed in your way to force you to transition. But also thematically, in that you need items from wells on Hyrule to explore the depths, where you find Zonites, an ore which can be processed into things that make it easier to explore the sky. I really can't understate just how seamlessly these areas connect, and yet have wildly different atmospheres and challenges. Now, going into a little more depth on the story, I think the story is presented flawlessly, with a generous smattering of pre-rendered, voice-acted cutscenes, along with another suite of memories to collect that add enormously to the narrative. Unlike the memories in Breath of the Wild, the memories in Tears of the Kingdom are far more important to the plot, but luckily are a lot less tiresome to collect, in my opinion. The antagonist, while his identity was hardly a surprise, is presented in a new and thematically frightening fashion that he immediately feels compelling and pretty believable too, especially once you learn what the memories have to tell you. This makes the finale even more epic, and I have to say was a real treat, especially after the somewhat lame fake-out ending in the castle. The ending was also mechanically tight, although rather difficult in my opinion, without grinding for items that dispel gloom and use of a teleport mechanic which can only be unlocked by way of a fairly lengthy side quest. And finally, it would be remiss of me not to mention the voice acting, which feels like a marked improvement on Breath of the Wild, even though the voice actor for Zelda is clearly the same person. This can only mean that in actual fact, the problem with Breath of the Wild wasn't the voice acting, but was either the direction and/or the script writing that let the character of Zelda down so much. In Tears of the Kingdom, she is significantly less annoying, more relatable, and frankly, more Princess Zelda-like, and I couldn't help but feel both relieved and impressed. In conclusion, I believe Tears of the Kingdom not only adds to what I would describe as a premium franchise, but it stands out as a marked improvement on the already stellar Breath of the Wild. Sure, maybe as a Zelda nerd I would have preferred them to go for a story that wasn't so clearly outside conventional canon, but I suppose the YouTube theorists need something to talk about for the next 5 years. Seriously though, I genuinely think Tears of the Kingdom is better than Breath of the Wild. If you liked Breath of the Wild, this is a no-brainer. Seriously, why the hell haven't you played it already? But any fan of the franchise, or really any fan of this type of game, needs to play this, as yet again, Nintendo set the gold standard with Zelda. My only words of warning? If you didn't like Breath of the Wild, avoid this game like the plague. And although it wouldn't be impossible to love Tears of the Kingdom without playing Breath of the Wild, thematically and narratively, you'd be shooting yourself in the foot. Defo play Breath of the Wild first if you haven't already. Aside from that though, seriously, please go out and buy The Legends of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. All right.
Mellar, I don't think you should be ashamed of saying that the story was presented well.
Oh, it's not though. I really disagree with myself.
But here's the thing. I 100% you have caved to everyone who's complained about Tears of the Kingdom. Every guest you've had on that has complained about the story of Tears of the Kingdom, you have given in to popular opinion. Tears of the Kingdom story is good. What's bad about the story is how it's presented.
That's exactly why I cringe, because my exact words are "is presented flawlessly." It's not. I agree with you. I do think that the story to Tears of the Kingdom is great, but I do think that it's presented in a very flawed manner. I was just very lucky on my first playthrough that I happened to watch the memories in an order that didn't ruin it for me. I was incredibly lucky. And of course, like I said,
you had mentioned that when Pulse was on.
Yeah, exactly.
And I felt exactly the same because my heart was broken by the second memory.
Is that the one where she dies?
But
even then, yeah. I've thought about this because I've heard different people talk about it. I feel like that's purposeful. I feel like Link isn't meant to see these chronologically. He's meant to get them out of order and be confused about what the hell is going on. He has to put these pieces together. And I think as the player, we're disappointed because we feel like we've been spoiled. But in Link's point of view, he's getting the pieces of what's going on with Zelda as a puzzle. So where we feel like we've been spoiled, Link is just like, oh my God, how did this happen? Why is this what I'm seeing? I've got to go try to find another one of these puddles to put this together. I think we're bringing, I think in terms of the story and the game, I think it's flawless because that's exactly how Link would have discovered these memories. Because Dragon can't control where those tears fell. So I've thought about it. And for us as players, yeah, we feel like we're not seeing it. We want to see it in order. But Link would not. Zelda in Dragon form would have had no control over where those tears fell. And Link would have discovered them in random order just like we did. And I think we should view it more as a puzzle to be put together than as a chronological story that's being ruined for us somehow. Even though
that is a very fair point.
It does make Link
very fair point.
Look a bit of a mug, though, doesn't it? When he knows things and then doesn't act on them.
Well, but that's separate. That's the game mechanic thing we've talked about. But I'm talking about the story. I'm defending your assessment that the story was presented flawlessly because I think if you put yourself in Link's shoes and you truly play as Link, I think that's exactly how it would have turned out for Link.
So you're saying he's a dumbass?
No. You're talking about his interaction with the other play. You're talking about that's the mechanics of him interacting with NPCs. I'm talking about him discovering and putting together where Zelda is and what's happened. Just the memories. I'm just talking about the tears and the cutscenes because that's what we're talking about. It's the idea that we are upset as players that we discovered them out of order and felt spoiled. I'm saying if the story is being delivered through these memories, it's flawless because that's how Link would have come across them in the wild. And he would have been like, oh my God, what does this even mean? I got to go find another one of these things. Because there's so few cutscenes that are based on you just interacting with something with an NPC. Most of them come from the puddles or the Master Sword,
and it goes into the same thing about it being flawed. I really hate the fact that you get the same exact exposition after every temple, to the point where the characters literally say exactly the same things at exactly the same time. It's just basically a reskin and revoice of
Yeah, but if you're saying the story is delivered through the cutscenes, the cinematic cutscenes, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not the it would be, because we've talked about the game developer nightmare that would be trying to plot out the voice acting and the scripting and all of the different combinations that might happen between players and NPCs. I don't think they had another choice but to make that boring and as one-dimensional as possible to keep everything else as varied as it was. But if we're talking cinematic cutscenes that aren't the temples where he's just kind of like saying the same thing over and over again, I say the story is exactly how you would expect.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that's a very fair point.
Yeah,
and
go on, Shelley.
I had
Sorry.
said before, no, you're fine. I had said before that, of course, I did feel like things were certainly spoiled for me. And I'm not going to obviously just like say the thing because, of course, not everybody's played the game and I want them to be able to have it. But there was like a pretty significant moment that would have happened chronologically about halfway through the memories. That was like a big climactic moment where we got attached to somebody and then lost them. Or we actually didn't see whether or not that happened. And I guess we kind of also have to assume that we didn't lose them if Zelda is a direct descendant that does require for children to be born. And so I don't know. Anyway, my big thing was when I'd seen the memory of Zelda becoming a dragon. And then, it shows you the location of the next memory. And we all know what happens in that next memory and the location of things being opened up to us. So I am on my way, like flying to that next memory. And then I look to my right and there is a dragon that I'd never seen before. And I was like, that dragon was just in this past memory, so I could go to that memory and find out what's going on with this dragon, or I could just go to the freaking dragon. So of course I like hook a hard right and I go straight to the dragon, and then I'm just like chilling on this really pretty dragon. I walk up to the face and I'm like, well, what the hell's that? And then like pull the master sword, and then I'm like, shit, that's really cool. Let's go check out this other memory. And then it's just like the memory is like, you need to go to the dragon and you can get the master sword. And I'm like, oh, you mean this? This thing?
But that's the beauty of this game. And I think Mellar captures that in his review, is that you can do this game in whatever order it happens to you or that you choose. And that's why those boring temple cutscenes had to be so vanilla, because it's like a multiverse. There would be too many different ways that you could go at. So some of the things had to kind of just be like, is Link just not telling anybody about these puddles he's finding? Yeah. But who knows? Like, how many different puddles were there? Like 12? There were 12 of them. And so you figure 12 times, so it would be 12 factorial, all the different ways you could encounter those memories without repeating. And then times the different ways you could encounter the NPCs without repeating. That's no game developer is going to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that something had to give, so that you could be in a free-flowing sort of choose your own adventure kind of thing. And some people went straight for the dragon. I didn't do any of the temples. I went and found all the puddles. Because my second puddle was him becoming the Demon King. That was my second memory.
Ganon Daddy.
Daddy.
That was my second memory. And I was like, what? And so I was like, well, screw this. I'm going to find all the rest of the story. I was a little mad, but like I wasn't super mad, because then I was like, well, now I got to go find the rest. And that got me items, that got me experience, that got me leveled up, that got me learning other things. And then when I was done finding the whole story and I kind of had an idea what was going on, that was when I went to do the temples in my first playthrough. And I probably had an easier time doing the temples because I had done all of that exploration. Yeah. So and
that's totally fair. Yeah.
I just think some things have to give in the spaghetti pile of game development for other things to breathe and exist. I think Mellar's right that yeah, it sucks. It feels like Link didn't tell anybody anything he was discovering, and he should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. So if there's one flaw, then that's it. But I still say the story for us as the viewer delivered fine.
I do also like. I think if you try, like, again, if you try and make this make sense in terms of the other games, it's definitely problematic. But in and of itself, if you take it as I believe it's intended, as basically it's just its own single game, I do think the story is really, really excellent. I really like the whole like sort of time travel-y kind of thing, because time travel is a bit hit and miss just in general. But I feel like they really nailed it. Honestly, I think it works really well. I think there's a few quite nice little twists in there that we've kind of touched on that are learnt in the memories as well. Like, you know, the whole Zelda thing and all that, and what happened to her. I think is a really good example.
And I think
of
that really lent to like how serious and deep that moment of finding the dragon and realizing how long had Zelda been like this, just like stuck in draconification for this one purpose, and how poignant it was when she got changed back and was like, I'm home. And that's huge. It's huge when you think about it like that. So
Yeah.
Honestly, this is the first Zelda where I was like, God damn, girl be ballin'. Like this is the first Zelda, other than the few things I've seen in Twilight Princess.
She's usually a bit of a damsel in distress, isn't she? And she is pretty badass in this.
And this is the first one. She's showing her power. Like she pulls herself thousands of years into the past just using that stone. That's how magnified her power was with that stone. She sacrifices herself.
She's very much pulling the strings in the background for Link as well. She's almost like the puppet master for the player as well.
But it's beautiful. Like it's the first time I've seen Zelda truly be a part of it. Not just a exposition dump or a damsel in distress or whatever. This is the first game where I'm like, I like Zelda.
You should play Phantom Hourglass. She's literally your companion in that.
Yeah, I saw that in a review, but isn't she just like...
No, she's pretty awesome. She can possess enemies, and then you can control the enemies, and it helps you get through the game. It's awesome.
It's awesome. I will say that my favorite thing about that whole thing, because I love a story. I freaking love a story. And in the beginning, of course, because I had played Breath of the Wild when it came out, but I did not play it again in preparation of Tears of the Kingdom. So
Spirit
it
Tracks.
really felt like...
Sorry to interrupt you. What I meant just now was Spirit Tracks, not Phantom Hourglass. Phantom Hourglass is nowhere near as good. Sorry to interrupt. Go on.
You're fine. So when Tears of the Kingdom came out, it really felt like I had also waited 5 years, because I did. I waited 5 years for this game to come out and have this new experience. And that is a little bit of like, and I'm going to kind of just jump off to the side here really quick to say this. During your review, it almost seemed like you were complaining about how many things were the same, but I really appreciated the familiarity and like this new adventure that like the NPCs recognized me. That is not a thing, you know? So like having all of these NPCs being like, oh my God, Link, where have you been? It's been, you know, blah, 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 whatever. Because you don't really know what happened in that 5 years. But going back to at the very beginning of the game, when everything is breaking apart and Zelda falls and you miss her just barely because the hand drags you back. And just like this immediate like pit of despair that Zelda is gone and what's happening to Zelda. And of course, you know that everything's going to be okay. But still in that moment, if you like allow yourself to just fall into what's going on, the parallel at the end, when you actually grab her hand, I cried like a freaking baby. I was sobbing. It's a surprise that I saw anything at all, because I messed it up.
I messed it up. I messed it up because I didn't understand. I had to hold the button and not tap the button. So the first time I missed Zelda and I had to do it over.
Oh,
like the button mechanic, sometimes they want you to tap the button and sometimes they want you to press. And in that moment, it just showed A, and I was like, oh God, do they want me to hold it down or do they want me to tap it? It's consent is important, and you should make sure that you always ask what the person prefers. But it turns out that Zelda wanted me to do a long press and not a tap.
Are you so super sure that it did not say press A parentheses hold? Because
it does, yeah.
I think it says hold.
I'm not honestly, Shelly. I think I was in the heat of the moment. I think I was just like I was just in the moment and really stressed out about catching her. And I think it might have, but like I was just like, oh my god, what do I do? This is the end of the game. I gotta go to and then I let go.
Oh.
And it separated, and then I had to go in. But they let you go in for it again.
That's totally fair. Yeah.
While you're still falling. So I did it again, and I figured it out. But
I have to admit, I did test it out, and you never hit the floor. It's impossible.
See, I don't understand how people can do stuff like that. I can't do the wrong thing. You know what I mean?
To be fair, it was my second playthrough.
Saying no when Zelda tells you to keep her prophecy from Ocarina of Time a secret. I can't say no.
I live for that shit.
I know it's not going to change anything, and it's going to just be like, oh man, why would you say no? You know, are you sure you won't keep it a secret? And then you have to say yes to continue. But sorry.
Mellar didn't. Sorry, I'm responding to something Shelly said in the chat. Mellar starts off saying that the familiarity was a letdown because he spent so much money, but then he goes on to say that it was actually a welcome foundation for the new elements.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the reason it didn't win Game of the Year is because Breath of the Wild had won Game of the Year, and they didn't want to give it to a game that was so strongly foundational in a previously won game.
And that's fair. Yeah.
But yeah, I think there was some confusion. Mellar was not complaining about the map being so similar to Breath of the Wild. He was saying at first he could see that it would be disappointing, but it actually allowed everyone to be in a comfortable place so that the newer stuff was easier to stomach.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I really liked about the story as well, which I didn't realize on my first playthrough, I think it was sort of in the back of my mind, but I didn't really know until after my first playthrough. I realized on my second playthrough how good it was, because the whole game has a theme about hands. And you mentioned it kind of just now, Shelley. So it starts off with him missing and not grabbing Zelda, but then there's actually other moments during the entire, because he gets a new hand, like the whole game is,
and they clasp hands,
and it does make that end cinematic just really it's just very, I think it's very clever. I suppose in a way it's kind of like it's only one little plot element, but it's done in such a way that when it happens you're like, oh, that's awesome.
It was immediate. I was like, oh, this is the beginning, but better. this is where I'm not depressed for however many hours I played Tears of the Kingdom.
But that's what we were talking about with Link to the Past, right? So when we talked about the Link to the Past earlier, we were saying there's this layering, that there's a little bit at the beginning, and that repeating theme comes back, and we build on it. Yes, and that's another reason why I think you're right about saying the story is presented flawlessly, is because if that moment is so powerful and you have to go back and think about it and be like, oh yeah, there was a hand at the beginning and this happened, and then when I meet new people, we do this, and you're constantly trying to make up for the thing that you missed. Grabbing, that is beautiful.
You make me cry. I'm such a baby.
That kind of through line story writing out of a silent character is art. That is artfully done when they're getting into your brain and moving your emotions like that without you even realizing that it's happening.
Yeah.
I think this game, Breath of the Wild, did its story terribly. Breath of the Wild story was terrible. I didn't even know that there were memories to go get.
Yeah.
How would you even? So this one, I felt like I knew what was going on. Yeah. I was invested in the characters, and I didn't even think about that hand thing, but now I'm thinking about it and I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, that's probably what made that so powerful, which was this whole game was about reaching for something that you want to save and it slipped through your fingers and you're looking for a second chance.
Mm.
And it's beautiful. Who doesn't want that?
Or further expanding upon that is that this thing that you know that you need, you have to give up so that you can get it back later with the Master Sword. Sending the Master Sword back in time, knowing that this is your only way of killing the Demon King. That's how it's always been, is that the Master Sword is required to kill Ganon. And knowing that you are giving away your only tool with all of the faith in the world that it will come back to you precisely when you need it is also really, really important. It is a very it's a really nice balance of when to hang on and when to let go. Because I'm actually after I finish playing the game that I'm currently playing on stream, I am starting Tears of Kingdom, which is really exciting because I do love this game a whole lot, and I'm really excited that you talked about it, because now I'm just like, I don't even care right now. I just want to go to the final boss in the game that I'm playing right now and just be done with it so that I can start Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Which, of course, I won't do that. I will give it the respect it deserves.
Yeah,
as my favorite game. But
it's a fantastic game, honestly. I really like it. It's definitely not perfect. As much as the voice acting for Zelda is better, I still think that it's not quite there. It's still a bit off for me. I still haven't entirely put my finger on what it is, but it's just not right. I also think that both the sky and the depths worlds are just a little bit too samey. There's not really anything to do in the sky and the depths. As much as I love the depths, I love the atmosphere. It is basically just a massive area of not really a huge amount going on, and I really got that exemplified recently, where I for some reason on my playthrough that I was playing off stream, I completely cleared the depths so I could see all of it, and it was just like it worked for me at the time because it was just as Coffee had been born, so I needed something that was completely mindless, but it was completely mindless, and if I wasn't in that mind state, I would have been really bored. You know, it's just the same thing over and over and over again.
I think my biggest gripe overall with Tears of the Kingdom that was really a letdown, and it's going to make me mad again, is the fifth stage and how she was introduced, how the temple was literally just Rock'em Sock'em robots, and then you didn't need to do anything with her at all, and also everything that you ever fused to her broke immediately, and it was so disappointing. It shouldn't have even been there. It shouldn't have even been there from the beginning, and I understand why they did it and why they needed, because I really liked the idea of building it. I liked the idea of building the construct, but then it was a waste of time, and I didn't use her at all.
Yeah.
I never had the sage pulled. The only time I used her was when I was in the depths.
She's good for getting over gloom, isn't she?
Not just gloom, lava.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yep, I walked through lava with her because you didn't get hurt.
So the way that I tackled the depths, because I'm, again, a very big baby and I am scared of the dark. The way that and in most games where there is any kind of combat, I'm always going to prefer a ranged option. It's very rare that I'm just going to run straight up on an enemy. I'm going to try to tick down their health as much as I can till it's at a comfortable point where I can then come in and know that I'm not going to die as I'm trying to beat them down. So the way that I did the depths was I literally flew from tree to tree to tree to tree to tree, or those little spirally plants, and I shot bright bloom seeds and I picked everything off with a bow. And that's how I completed 100% of the depths. I absolutely got the medal for completely illuminating the depths, and that is how I did it was how I did most of it. I would say about 30%. And then I had my energy wells completely maxed even into the blue. So I did double because I dupe glitched the entire time. So I was a dirty, dirty cheater. And then I just flew the fan bike around everywhere. And the fan bike was my favorite thing. I would take it up to the sky. I didn't even care. I absolutely cheesed most of that game, but I don't think that I don't think it made me like it any less, and I don't think that not cheesing it would have made me hate it nor love it I think that I would have felt exactly the same. And I think that I will, because I don't have the dupe glitch anymore, so I'm actually going to have to do it legit. Okay, so again, like I've said before, Link to the Past is my absolute favorite Zelda game. Again, this is not the first Zelda game that I've played. I do think that it is significantly harder than any other Zelda game that I've played. Also, I'm not good at it. So when I say all of these things about it, I do want you all to understand that it is because I truly do appreciate it for what it is, not because I feel really good about how I played. As you are going to see in this, I actually did this playthrough the other day because I didn't have any streamed Link to the Past. So this was the other day I was recording all of this, and I die a lot, so good luck dealing with that. Again, going back to what I said about 2D Zeldas versus 3D Zeldas, the top-down versus 3D, I really do think that specifically Link to the Past being a Zelda, it was the 3, right? So Link or Zelda 1, and then of course the Adventure of Link. Nope, it was the 3rd. Well, if there was one that came between, maybe like Link's Awakening on like the on the GameCube or Game Boy, I still view this as Zelda 3, and I think that a lot of people view this as Zelda 3, and it really does give you that same feeling that Zelda 1 had, and I know like Gingy really, really loves Zelda 1, so I think that she might be able to, you know, see where I'm coming from with this. The sense of adventure is still very much intact. There is very little hand-holding. Of course, you're going to talk to NPCs, and they're going to tell you where to go, and they're going to put pointers on your map to give you kind of an idea. But for the most part, you're kind of just left to your own devices. And I really appreciate that because I feel like when I'm being asked to follow this really rigid formula, that's more of an opportunity for me to, in my perception, mess up. But when you're adventuring, I know that you said, you know, it sucks really bad when you die because you're now here and have 3 hearts and you don't know where to find fairies, but isn't that like the adventure of it all, you know? And it's not supposed to be this game that I can just beat in 6 hours. It's something that's going to take me time. And again, the system of incredible challenge and then amazing reward feels so good to me. And it's honestly a feeling that I really don't feel like I felt in any other game since. I really do feel like I adventured. I absolutely overcame all of these challenges and these obstacles that were set in front of me. I learned how to fight enemies. I learned how to use my weapons to not die, you know, not just not take too much time, but to actually survive the challenge. I really think that the gameplay is incredible. I love the story of A Link to the Past, and then, of course, A Link Between Worlds, as you know, is like a spiritual successor. Both of these games are absolutely incredible, and I do think they are the 2 best entries in the Zelda franchise. Even with these stories being just a little bit different between them, they are both still very incredible. However, I think, like, I try to be careful to not place a massive amount of importance on the story because, again, it is a game and it's an interactive experience. If I want an awesome story, I'm going to watch a movie. But if I feel like this game is going to continuously pull me in, I need really good, riveting gameplay with a mechanic that makes me feel like I've accomplished something. And that's what I found in A Link to the Past.
And Link to the Past came out before Link's Awakening on Game Boy.
Nice. I think it was like 91 or 92 or something like that.
Link's Awakening was 90. Link to the Past was 92 in North America and Europe, and then Link's Awakening was 93.
Nice. Yeah. So, you'll see here in this playthrough and here in just a second, but one big thing that I did really want to talk about is that the bosses in this game, the challenge that they presented, again, it's all coming back to the system of challenge versus reward. I need something that makes me feel like I earned whatever I received, and I really don't feel that way. Even like not even now, obviously not now, because now I can like one cycle bosses in Ocarina of Time. So of course the reward. Well, now I play randomizers, so it might be a blue rupee, and that's fair, you know, for the amount of work that I seem to have put into this boss to receive a a reward that makes sense for that. But with A Link to the Past, it just feels like every single one of these bosses have made me so angry that I thought that I was never going to play this game again. And then once you finally do beat it, I could jump up on a table. I would jump up on a table and I would scream, I just beat Moldorm.
You, weird metally snake that knocks us off the edge and we have to come back up, and oops, we used all the hearts and
Angel.
the pots on the previous one. We're talking
This
to
is
you.
the boss. This is the boss. Watch, I'm literally walking into that boss while I'm actually about to die at this point because, of course, I got...
Talking to you.
There's the death screen. Yep. Oh, but yeah, Moldorm, absolutely. Going in and over and over and over and over, just continuously falling, despite your best efforts, despite having played this game for a really long time and knowing exactly what needs to be done, it doesn't make it any better because it's all RNG, right? You don't know. It's going to kind of go where it's following you, but it's not always. And you can't really predict how it's going to work. And the arena is so small. One thing that I will say, as much as I love this game, I hated the Moldorm fight. A Link Between Worlds fixed it. Yes, you still fall down, but Moldorm does not regain his health. So if he was one hit away from death and he knocked you down, you come back up, you hit him once and he's done. So that was really amazing. But then also, like, again, coming back to A Link to the Past and saying, I know that I need to hit him 6 times with a charged spin attack. And I've got him down to 4, but I knew I could get that 5th one. I knew that I could do it. And that sense of knowing that I've got it within me to do it, continuously bringing me back, and then finally being able to overcome, finally, after wanting to... I've never thrown a controller. I don't even think I've ever really truly wanted to throw a controller, but it makes you think, you know? So having those experiences, and every single boss is like that. And to be completely honest, a lot of the adventuring is like that too. You know, you feel like you get turned around or you go the wrong way and you go so far just to find out that you're locked into this, you know, you can't go this way, you've got to go all the way around and you've got to do this. And a lot of it seems like it's just there intentionally to make you mad. But it's teaching you about the adventure of it all. And again, this is just something that I really feel was lacking in a lot of the later Zelda entries, in that, you know, I feel like the one thing in maybe like Ocarina of Time that made me upset was just like when you had to go get Saria's song to play for Darunia, but you didn't know that until you go talk to him and he's like, I need a song. And there was nothing that inherently told you, you know, you need to go talk to Saria. I guess he probably says, like, I want to think of something that's green. And then, like, where do you go from there? And I think that was probably, like, the one instance in Ocarina of Time
Goron
where
outside his room that gives the hint for what to do.
Maybe. But either way, it was just, it was the one time where it felt like the game didn't hold your hand. And the one time that it didn't hold your hand, I was so annoyed. I was like, you could have held my hand. You could have held my hand through this. You were going to do it through everything else. But again, in A Link to the Past, it's just kind of like, we're going to give you a general idea of where to go. Figure it out, dude. And then again, when you do, it is the biggest sense of accomplishment that I haven't felt since. And it is all very still whimsical and cute, and maybe even just like because I'm looking at a sprite with pink hair, you know, as opposed to everything becoming so much more like realistic and I guess getting way more serious. It still felt like fantasy, and maybe that's why it feels different, that the adventuring, while being way more challenging and it's not really forgiving at all, it still felt so much more fun than the realism.
It's also one of the games, like there are games where Link is already the hero, like the chosen hero, and there are games where Link is just a kid.
He's just a little guy, and his uncle goes to the castle.
He's just a little guy who didn't ask for any of this, and I find that the games where he's just a little guy and he didn't ask for any of this, but he's gonna go do the thing and save the people because he's the only one that anybody's able to talk to or work with or whatever, I find that those, like watching you guys play all of the different games, those games where Link is just a little guy who's called to a higher purpose are the ones you guys love the most.
Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker.
Those are the ones
Yeah.
we love the most. Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, like the
Twilight
ones
Princess.
that played about the least are the ones where Link's just a little guy and he turns into
Well,
a
and
hero.
it's because isn't that the point of it all, though, right? Is that Link is a literal link between the player and the game, and we're all just really little guys. There is nothing inherently incredible or valiant about anything that we're doing. We're just here, and then we pick up an adventure, and then you just go. And so I feel like it's so much more relatable in that sense to be a little guy that doesn't know anything about anything. You just want to sleep. Because same, I also just want to sleep. And then this amazing thing happens, and again, it really does lend to the ultimate feeling of having won. You won. You did it. And it is because of your tenacity, your spirit, and you using the tools that you found along the way, and not just you doing all of these things just for it to be like, well, this was destiny and this was going to happen all along. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to sort of expand a little bit on what you said, because you mentioned obviously about the fairies and, getting the fairies kind of the part of the adventure. I definitely agree with you on that. I think my problem with... that I had with Link to the Past is exactly the same problem that I think Angry Angel had with Ocarina of Time. I think it's a lot harder to go back to these games now that we're all used to these much more modern games. I think generally sort of gamers are a little bit more sort of looking for instant gratification, which obviously you don't get in these older games. The older games are a lot more about fucking around and finding out, and just kind of exploring, sort of fake it till you make it almost. Whereas a lot more, like even games that present themselves open world and are a little bit fucking around and find out, like Tears of the Kingdom, they're still providing you with constant like little bits of gratification. Whereas with the older games, you have to. You like you say, you have to find it. You have to seek it, and you really have to work for it. And that's why it is so gratifying when you finally do it. But I think that generally, unless people have nostalgia for these games already, it's generally, like, obviously everyone's different, but it's generally quite hard, I think, for sort of gamers in the current landscape to sort of go back to these games having never played them and enjoy them.
Yeah.
I think I wish I would have played this when I was a kid, because I think I would have loved it. I think I would have loved it just as much, if not even more, maybe, as Ocarina of Time. Because if I'd have been able to put all that time in to really like treat it as the adventure that it is, I think I would have fallen in love with it.
And one thing that I do want to point out is that in Ocarina of Time, if you die, which there's really not much of a risk, because again, the targeting system trivialized the battle. It was meant to be more difficult, and then they said, well, it can't be impossible, we got to give you targeting, and then that just made it so that it was pointless. But in the event that you somehow did die to a boss, you did start back at the front of the dungeon with 3 hearts, and you had to go find a fairy. And just because we play Ocarina of Time a lot and we know where all the fairy fountains are, you have to put yourself back into the position of being, this is my first time playing this game. If I die to Phantom Ganon, do I know that I have to go back down to the Sacred Forest Meadow and climb a ladder and jump into that fairy fountain? I don't know until I know. And so the same thing with A Link to the Past. You don't know where those fairies are until you find them. Same thing with Breath of the Wild. You don't know that those fairies are at the fairy fountains until you find them. And then once you do, knowing is half the battle. You still have to get to that place. And so if I die in Breath of the Wild, which I probably will, I played Breath of the Wild, and I will in Tears of the Kingdom, going back and being like, well, I just need to get a bunch of fairies, which thank God it was actually more of like an inventory system where it's not you have to hold them in a bottle, you just get to have them, so you can have as many as you want, up to 999. But especially in the older games where it's like, okay, you got a bottle and you got to put a fairy in it, and then once you're out of that fairy, you got to put another fairy in there, or you don't have any fairies. Again, with that, if you know where the fairies are, then it's literally exactly the same system as Ocarina of Time. Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time have the same system. However, you are going to lose hearts faster. in Link to the Past, the battle is more difficult because, again, no targeting system. And also you have to be aware of which side of the enemy that you're on, because it's kind of similar to like if every enemy was a Stalfos, you know, but like one side is always protected, either with their sword or a shield, and then you have to be on the other side. And can you get to that other side with a D-pad, you know? So yeah, I do think that it does make it a little bit more difficult. But again, I think that the difficulty aids in the rewarding factor of it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ultimately, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I have to go.
Love you.
I love
for
you
being
so.
here.
And to all of you out there, thank you for welcoming me into your space. Thank you for giving Mellar and I this chance to reboot this podcast and make it something that you love to show up for and that you love to talk with us about. Please make sure that you follow Mellar's YouTube, and that if you miss one of these, that you're watching them on YouTube, because he puts a lot of work into editing them. Bye, Mellar.
Oh, dang. Mood tanked. Anyway, A Link to the Past is good, I guess. It's the best game, but nothing matters anymore. Oh, gosh.
Do you have anything else that you want to say about it at all?
I don't. I think it's the perfect game.
Fair enough. That is fair. That's fair. I really wish I liked it. I really do. I might try it again sometime.
Remember when Angel was here? Yeah, that was really nice. Oh.
Oh dear. But yeah, thank you very much, Angry Angel. It's been emotional. All right, well,
emotional. I'm crying.
Should we interview you then? Are you ready for this?
Sure.
Buckle up.
Really quick, I also wanted to say I'm really sorry that my cam keeps breaking, but there's my Super Nintendo and my 64.
That's all right.
I promise I'm a gamer. I'm not just here to give bad opinions.
Oh, they're just there for the background.
Games.
They don't actually work, do they?
The TV doesn't.
I was joking.
No, they work just fine. I tried to make it work, and the TV keeps giving me an error code, and I don't know what's wrong. And it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's fine. It's all right. I've got all of this stuff on the Switch anyway. Yeah.
Amazing.
The consoles absolutely do work, though. I promise.
I believe you. So, Shelley, tell us everything about you and your stream. I'm taking notes.
Absolutely. I would love to. So if you don't know me, I am a an Ocarina of Time randomizer player primarily. I started streaming in February of this year, after I'd graduated college. I started with Super Mario World ROM hacks.
Wow.
I was playing a couple of Kaizo hacks, just really baby ones because I had just gotten into them, and then I was also playing an expert standard hack called Jump Half. A lot of people, if you've played any kind of, if you've played a lot of ROM hacks, you know of the Jump Team, and that was like a big thing. So a lot of people knew about it. So I did play that for a couple of streams, and then I met Burton. And and I really enjoyed his stream. It was like, it kind of feels like that way for all of us, right? We just get immediately stuck and like pulled into Burton's stream, and then once you're there forever.
Yeah, so somehow I'm a mod.
Right. Same, right? I lost my mod today and then immediately got it back. So that was crazy. You can't leave. I tried to get timed out. I can't go. I can't leave. He also made me run his stream for 10 minutes this morning, so that's fine. It's whatever. Not like I was getting ready to do anything important. Anyway, so I was like, oh my God, I love Ocarina of Time. I've been playing it. That's how I found his stream, was I literally just browsed Ocarina of Time streamers and found him. And so once I found him, I was like, oh my God, I love Ocarina of Time. It's the one Zelda game that I've played the most of. I know almost everything there is to know about that game in a vanilla way, right? And so he was like, oh, well, I'll help you get started on Ship of Harkinian and you could start doing randomizers, because you know how Burton is. He's so helpful and he wants everybody to do it. You know, he's like, if you love anything about this game, I will absolutely dedicate my time to making sure that you know how to work this. And so I was like, okay, great. So my very first Zelda stream, I did Ocarina of Time vanilla, and I was trying to do as close to 100% as possible just to kind of prepare myself for the checks in randomizer. And then that's just, it took off from there. And that's all I had, because I didn't have a capture card. So I couldn't stream any of my Switch games. It was literally just me and Ship of Harkinian. And then Huno, my fantastic mod, I don't know if he's in here right now. I know he was in here earlier. He actually bought me a capture card. And so I did Skyward Sword on stream, and I did Wind Waker on stream, and I did Breath of the Wild on stream. And so now it's kind of like, I do intend to play every Zelda game on stream, even Majora's Mask. I'm not excited about it, but I will do it. But I will know when to quit. I've already made that obvious. But yeah, I do intend on playing every Zelda game on stream. I do not claim to be good at any of these games, or, you know, not a single one of them, actually. In fact, the gameplay is very scuffed. But I think what I make up for, or where I lack in gameplay, I make up for in having like a really amazing community. At a certain point, you have to recognize that the people that show up for you are an indication of the type of person that you are, and if that has any truth to it, I've got to be one of the most incredible people on this planet, because I cannot say enough good things about my community. They're absolutely incredible. The Ship of Harkinian community is fantastic, and I had talked about this previously on Pulse's stream, where I was talking about, you know, it's really difficult as a female streamer to kind of make your way in this world that is very clearly meant for men, and it seems like every time you turn around, some man has something to say about who you are and how you're doing it and how they could do it better. But I do not experience that for a single moment in this community, not a single moment. And the people that I've found from the other little games that I play, you know, I'm playing through Legend of Dragoon right now. I do play some Mario Kart. Just every person that I've found has been incredible. I freaking love my community. So again, I must be doing something right, because this has been an awesome experience. I don't think that I will ever make streaming a job. Even if it got to the point where I was making the kind of money to make it a job, I think that this is always going to stay a hobby, because I don't want anything to take the magic away.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. Like Manus is saying, the ship community is amazing. So I feel like I might know what your answer to this might be, but what's been your favorite game to stream?
Oh my goodness. I think it's gotta be randomizers. It's really gotta be randomizers. The amount of things that I've learned, I used to think that I had to watch somebody do something in order for me to kind of understand how to do it. But again, going back to how incredible of a person Burton is, that he can just come in my stream, be like, oh, you're dumb, you're doing something wrong, you know. And of course it's all jokes. Like, don't ever think that like Burton is being malicious when he says something like that. He's always joking around. But he'll be like, let me teach you something. And then I don't know if it's just because of how incredible a teacher he is, or if it's just because I somehow am a better learner than I thought I always was. But for me to like get a trick the first try, or even the second try, or the third try, just getting it at all is really incredible. The amount of things that I've learned about this game that I've played for so long that has been a constant as my life has changed, because again, I've played this game since I was 15. I used to play Ocarina of Time. When I said, I said I got my 64 when I was 18. When I was 15, playing this game with my best friend who passed away last year, sadly. And she was always kind of trolly and silly and just like messing around. And so in a way, it kind of feels like randomizers are just her fucking with me, right? Like, right. I get an ice trap when I really needed a bigger on sword, or you know what I mean? Like, and it's just, it's a way to kind of feel like I'm reliving my childhood through a different lens. And because of randomizers, games are the same. And so it's always a new, fresh experience for something that was always a constant for me when I just could not want to play another game. You couldn't make me. I wanted to play something, but I wanted it to be mindless, and Ocarina of Time was always that for me. So yes, Ocarina of Time is absolutely my favorite game to stream, and that's never going to change.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. Thank you. What's been your least favorite game to stream so far then, do you think?
We talked about this a little bit. It was absolutely Metal Gear Solid.
Because it's so high pressure.
It was so bad. Trying so hard. And of course, like I'm not good at video games. I mean, I'm kind of okay at video games. Play me in Mario Kart and I can't say that I'm not good at video games. But for me to play that game knowing that every single bit of it I had to have someone tell me what to do was a really infantilizing experience, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
What experience?
And infantilizing, just like
made you feel like a child.
Making me feel like a child. Yes.
Right.
I've absolutely felt like a child the entire time I was playing, and at a certain point the nervous giggling just doesn't cut it anymore. I'm actually pissed. So
right. I get it. So has there ever been a game then that you've streamed that you've really enjoyed, but your community's just been like, nah, we're not going to watch it, tell you that?
I wish that I could say that there is, but I feel like my community shows up the exact same regardless of what I'm playing, and that shines through right now during my playthrough of an RPG. I will be the first to say nothing is more... Playing an RPG on its own is boring. Watching someone else play an RPG is awful. But I'm still seeing a lot of the same engagement. I'm still seeing the same people coming in every single time. And not only that, but because I'm playing this game that a lot of people, the people who know about it, love it. And so it does have a very passionate, small community. I'm actually seeing more growth as a result, because now I'm getting these new people plus the same people who have been here through the entire thing. I really can't think of a single one where I feel like my community isn't showing up for me, and that's the dream, right? Like, that it's not just about the games you play, it's about the person that you are and the people that you attract. And that if I just wanted to play a game for myself, I would just do it off stream. But all of these incredible people show up for me every single stream. Even when I went from being a daily streamer to now I post in Discord the night before, hey, I'll probably stream tomorrow. Or posting in Discord the day of being like, oh, good morning, everybody. By the way, I'm going to be streaming in a couple of hours. And again, there's no difference. I've really not seen much of a difference at all in the way that my community shows up for me.
That's excellent. Have you thought about any other platforms at all? YouTube, TikTok, anything like that? Or are you just sticking with Twitch?
Not really. Because this is just like a hobby for me. I don't really I don't feel like I need to chase any kind of like extra growth or engagement. Honestly, if I'm to be completely honest, I'm kind of lazy, and this was never going to be something that I was just going to put a lot of effort into. It's just something that I wanted to do for fun, and it's already given me exactly that. I do have a YouTube channel that I will, after I do my little upgrade, because as a lot of you all know, I am currently working on building an actual streaming PC. Right now I stream from a laptop that we have affectionately named the Potatoes, which is why this video looks bad. I'm so sorry. There's nothing I can do about that. but yeah, once that happens and I do have access to more programs in order to kind of work on that content, again, it's not going to be something that I think I'm ever going to like live stream on YouTube. I'm definitely never going to do TikTok. But I do have a YouTube channel where I will be one day uploading my VODs and, clips and stuff like that. But you are always going to find me at Twitch. I think I appreciate it here the most.
That is very understandable. What would you say is sort of next on the agenda for your Twitch channel then?
Okay, so right now I'm working on Legend of Dragoon. After Legend of Dragoon, I am jumping into Tears of the Kingdom. I actually have my next couple of Zelda games. I've got not a schedule, but it's Tears of the Kingdom. So I'm doing that one next, and then Link to the Past, and I'm also learning a Link to the Past randomizer with Jack and anybody else who wants to join in on that. If you want to play randomizers and you don't know how, we're all going to fumble through it together. We're doing that off stream so that nobody feels like there's an expectation on them, because I recognize my community is awesome. Not everybody can say that, so but we are going to be learning Link to the Past randomizer, so I'm going to do a randomizer, and then I'm going to play the oracles, and then I'm going to play Minish Cap, and then we will go from there. But obviously, like I said, with the upgrading to a PC, there's going to be so many things that I can level up with my stream, because again, my stream is very, very bare bones right now. There's really not a whole lot going on. I know people complain to me all the time about how they have so many channel points and nothing to spend them on. I'm sorry, okay? I'm so sorry. But again, I promise once we get this all set up, it's just kind of like what I need to be doing right now versus like what I would like to do.
Yeah.
And this year has been incredibly difficult for me, and oftentimes streaming was kind of all I had. And so if I have to be careful about putting a lot of obligation into it, because then it becomes a chore for me, and then I don't want to do it anymore. And I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose what I found. I don't want to ruin it for myself. So
yeah, that's understandable. Well, I feel like I have to say, apart from the community, what would you say is your favorite thing about streaming?
My favorite thing about streaming is actually, to be completely honest, I streamed back in 2017, and it was for very similar reasons. I felt, I was a new mom, and I felt like my entire life had turned upside down, and now it was just about this tiny little baby that I had to take care of, and I didn't relate to any of my friends anymore, and I didn't want to be at work and like hang out and socialize after the fact, because I got to be home to take care of my kid, and so it really felt like streaming was a socialization thing for me, and so I really enjoyed that, and then I went back to work after my daughter was born, and just, of course, working, and you get stuck in that, and it seems to be taking up all your time, and then your baby turns into a toddler, and it's way more hands-on, and it's crazy the way that like children kind of like shape our lives. And I feel like that's an obvious thing to say, but until you've like experienced it, it's so much more I don't know. It's really difficult to explain. But anyway, I completely lost my sense of identity outside of being a mom. And so then COVID happened, and everybody got sent to work from home. And then, of course, there was a massive disconnect between all of these people that I was seeing every day. And I'd had like this almost like a mask in order to deal with just everyday regular people. So not people I would consider my peers, just people that happen to be around. And so COVID was actually really difficult for me, because I wasn't socializing at all, or the little bit of socializing I was doing was just like over video calls with other people who were also depressed about the state of the world. And then I got into school, and school is really great for giving myself a purpose. However, because of the field that I chose, I did not have any peers, because I am in a blue collar STEM field, and I was the only woman in 95% of my classes. Add on top of that being a 30-year-old in college when all of your classmates are 18, and there's just a really big disconnect where I felt like I didn't have any friends. And so that's what streaming was for me, was just an experience to meet people who genuinely liked being around me, and that I could connect with on a real level, and then we could just hang out and do fun stuff together. And that's kind of what it's always been about. It was just just having somebody that I felt like wanted to be around me. And so, and I hate to like bring it back to that, as far as like, oh, well, it's the community, but I think it's just the sense of not being so cripplingly alone.
Yeah, that's
and I could, anytime that I needed that, it was right there for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. What was your least favorite? What's your least favorite thing about streaming?
My favorite thing about streaming is I talked a little bit about this in my Discord. When you are having a hard time and you need a positive stimulus, it can become very addicting very quickly. And again, when I was like waiting to receive my new contract from the union and I was doing literally nothing all day for 3 weeks, it just made sense to stream. And that constant positive stimulus that I was receiving turned into me actually using Twitch in a not healthy way. Some of you might not know, there was a point where I did a practice 24-hour stream just to see if I could, so that it could be like a goal for the future. I ended up absolutely wrecking that 24-hour stream. It was 24 and a half hours that I streamed. And then the next morning I woke up and I did a 13-hour stream. And then the next morning I woke up and I did an 11-hour stream. That is 48 hours of streaming in 3 days. At the time, and I don't fault anybody in my community for feeling this way. They were like, oh my God, that's incredible. You're like all these goals or whatever. Realistically, it was absolutely a cry for help. And I wish that I had been brave enough in that moment to tell people that I was having a hard time. Because it was actually very, very bad. And it led to a downward spiral that thankfully I was not completely, but mostly able to keep off of live interactions. And it really mostly only happened in like Discord and like in like close, like my close friends knew what was going on. But it was a really, really, really not good time for me. And again, I recognized that I'd kind of gotten addicted to the feeling of having somebody who could validate me in my life when I was not able to do that for myself. So that was my big thing, but it ultimately was a really awesome lesson that I have been able to use since then. So I'm glad that it happened. I hate that it had to happen in order for me to learn those lessons, but it could have been way worse and it could have been way more self-destructive. So I do feel lucky that I was able to recognize that relatively easy.
That is very understandable. And I think maybe finally, but tell us sort of an interesting or unique thing about yourself.
An interesting or unique thing about me? Oh no. I guess. Oh gosh. Okay. So, I guess because this is first and foremost a Zelda podcast, I guess I'll keep this related. I have been playing the Ocarina since 2013. I just like randomly found an Ocarina at like a Comic-Con. I went to Baltimore Comic-Con in 2013 and saw an Ocarina that I really liked, and it wasn't super expensive. I could justify the expense, and I was like, oh yeah, cool Ocarina. And so I learned it. And I have nowhere near mastered it. There have been times when I didn't play it as much, life happens or whatever. But I've been playing Ocarina since 2013. I do know quite a fair amount of songs from like muscle memory and just from remembering. But also. I learned the Earth Gods lyric, if you know about Wind Waker, which of course I know Mellar does, but the Earth Gods lyric, I taught myself that on Ocarina, and it is my daughter's lullaby. So every time I hear Earth Gods lyric, it makes me cry because it reminds me of her and her name. One of her names. I won't give her full name on stream, but one of her middle names is Medley, and she is named after the Earth stage from Wind Waker. And I didn't do it once she was like born because the ocarina is actually a very loud instrument. If you want to play it correctly, you do need to kind of give it that volume. But when I was pregnant with her, I played it to my belly all the time. So again, that song makes me cry, and the ocarina will always hold a very special place in my heart.
That's nice. Yeah. By the way,
Pizza Wars.
There we go. So now I've got something I can edit to. See?
There you go. There you go.
So now we're gonna play Pizza Wars. We've got the thing finally on the screen of the different toppings, and you're basically gonna tell us what you like on your pizza and what you don't like. So just having a look now at what you see here. What is there anything here that you just immediately see and you're like, yes?
Absolutely. Go ahead and put chicken up there. barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce is the best sauce to put on a pizza. I won't fight anybody.
Oh, chicken and barbecue sauce just immediately go so well together, don't you think?
Immediately. Also, onions can go on the top.
Oh yes, you're describing my perfect pizza right here.
And I don't know. Do you have banana peppers on there? I don't
We
think
do
I see
actually,
them.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, go ahead and throw the banana peppers up top as well, because that's like, if I cannot think of a pizza that I want, if I don't want anything like crazy and I'm just trying to go for like bare bones, it's literally just cheese and then banana peppers. And that's like incredible to me. Honestly, I'm trying so hard not to put every single vegetable up in S tier, but I do
So
absolutely
you're
love
like the opposite of
a
Burton,
veggie.
basically.
I love a veggie pizza so much. I will absolutely drag it through the garden every single time. They're so good.
Oh, that is amazing. Well, which 2D Zelda game is better than A Link to the Past or Minish Cap, and why? Nostalgia is not a viable answer.
Oh gosh. So I think A Link to the Past. And this might be a crappy answer and you don't want to hear this, but I have really, really bad eyesight. And so immediately something that I can play on a big TV is going to take precedence over something that I have to play on a handheld console.
Is very understandable. Very understandable.
So, like for me, I have not played Minish Cap not on a handheld console. So when I play it on stream, I will be doing it through the Game Boy Advance Nintendo Switch Online software, and that will be my first time playing it on a TV. And I think that I don't know. We'll see how the experience goes, because I absolutely hated the Oracles until I played them on a TV, and now I absolutely love them. And if I already love Minish Cap, how am I going to feel? And is my opinion about whether it's better or worse than A Link to the Past going to change once I get to see it on my big TV? So.
It's understandable. So what are we going to do with Alfredo sauce then? Where's this going?
Alfredo sauce. I'm going to put that in. I think I'm going to put it in whatever the C tier is.
Decent stuff.
It's decent. I'm not a huge fan of white sauce.
That's fair. Yeah.
It doesn't really. It kind of goes with just like it's one little grouping of things that you put on pizza, but then other than that, it just doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't work with anything else the way like marinara sauce would.
Yeah, that's fair. I've got a fact or opinion here. Unfortunately, I can't remember the context, but Shauno says it's just another franchise peddling product with in-house celebrities to print money. Fun to try and make them cohesive, but should be taken with a pinch of salt. I think that's probably about the timelines. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely agree.
Oh, I'm interested.
Absolutely agree.
What are we going to do with anchovies? Do you like anchovies?
By themselves, not super great. But I do like sauces made from anchovies, and I do see like the way that fish can be really good for you. So I'm gonna put it above the bottom tier.
But it's not delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah, Button did just point out, because I suppose hot and ready would be the S tier, so then it would be A, B, C. So technically C is it's not delivery. So is that where Alfredo sauce should be?
Hang on. I guess it would be. Oh, well, you don't have like an F tier, do you?
It's
just
F
like
tier
the
is
lowest.
the bin, basically. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fine as it is. I would not put Alfredo sauce under S tier, so I guess it's B tier, not C tier. My bad. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's all good. So we're keeping Alfredo sauce where it is.
Yes, and then also the anchovies under it.
Okay.
But not in the bin.
Would you put artichokes on a pizza?
Absolutely. A tier.
A tier. Ooh, better ingredients.
Oh, yeah. Artichokes are delicious. Spinach artichoke dip is my favorite dip ever. So put some spinach and artichokes on a pizza, and it's absolutely amazing. So,
what about bacon then?
Bacon actually should probably go in S tier as well, because you got to add it to the barbecue chicken pizza.
Yes.
You gotta add it to the barbecue chicken pizza.
Definitely. I love how because Burton basically put every single vegetable in the bin apart from,
I believe that.
I think it was spinach, which he put in It's Not Delivery, and everything else was meat. And then you're like, I like all the vegetables, basically. Like
yeah, that's
opposite.
exactly. Yeah. Well, and Pulse kind of did the same thing too.
Yeah. Pulse did have a few vegetables on there. But yeah, it wasn't quite as vegetable averse. Interestingly, because I've got a spreadsheet, so that I can keep track of who's winning, like which topping's winning, and so far the pickiest was Burton, and the least picky was Manus.
Oh,
yeah, I know, by quite a way
there
as well. There you go. So we've got one. I like this one. This is from A Morgan as well. So we were talking about the timeline earlier. Where does Faces of Evil and the Wand of Gamelon fit on there?
We actually did not talk about this. Okay, well, we didn't talk about the CDI Zeldas at all. As far as where they land on the timeline, I'm going to neglect to comment because I hate the timeline and I actually do like the CDI Zelda games, but they don't mix, and already I don't like the timeline anyway. However, I will say one hot topic that I was going to talk about if we had enough time. The CDI Zelda games are good. The controller is bad and it makes the gameplay bad. The actual games are good the way that they progress, and the stories are funny and they're very cute and lighthearted, but again, if the controller wasn't so bad, I think that they would have been better received. However, Zelda's Adventure is still just a very not good game.
Golly, what a hot take!
I know it, right?
See what I did there?
Again, on the timeline, I couldn't tell you. Because the timeline came out and I was like, I really don't care about that.
Yeah.
I saw the 3 split and I knew what the 3 split meant, but if you put a pew-pew to my head and asked me to tell you all of the games in any one of those splits, that would be the last thing you'd ever hear from me, because I don't care enough about the timeline to even have it memorized. And to me, again, I keep all of the games separated. Like, they are not in any kind of like linear fashion. I just view each game for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, from what I know of the timeline, it would probably be in the Downfall timeline, but...
Yeah, maybe.
All right, what are we doing with beef then on your pizza?
Beef can go in B tier, I guess.
Which one's B? Decent stuff?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, okay, so it's going S, A, B, C... And then
F.
The bin is just like F.
Yeah.
So there's no D tier, correct?
There's no D.
Okay, perfect. Yes. Then, beef can go in B tier.
All right. What about bell peppers? Because you've got the banana peppers on the hot and ready.
They can also go up at the very top, S tier. Absolutely love myself some green peppers.
All right. What are we doing with buffalo sauce?
Buffalo sauce. Buffalo sauce can go A tier.
Really?
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
Way.
I love buffalo sauce.
You are the first person to put that anywhere apart from the bin. It's the first one you're the first person to give it any points at all.
Oh my god. Okay, so I don't know if y'all have this in the UK, but there is and I don't think that you would. It's actually a southern United States thing, but there is a pizza company called Mellow Mushroom, and I used to work at Mellow Mushroom, and it's all very centered around like pizzas that stoners would eat, and so it's all like this like very weird concoctions that you would never think that would like go together. But of course, working there and then like trying all of the pizzas, the buffalo chicken pizza is probably one of my favorites, and I just love buffalo sauce. So because buffalo sauce is literally just hot sauce and butter, and that's basically what any southerner's blood is. With a little bit of sweet tea mixed in.
I don't like hot sauce at all, so it's just a non-starter for me. I've always hated buffalo sauce. I used to work for Papa John's and Domino's, not at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were supposed to wear your uniform for this podcast, I remember.
Oh, fuck, I forgot. That would have been hilarious.
That would have been so hilarious.
This is the first time I remembered it. You just mentioning it just now. That would have been so funny.
I'm sorry. I should have remembered too, but I did not until literally exactly this moment.
Damn. Oh, well, maybe next time.
Season 4.
Yeah, season 4. We'll have you back on. We'll do it then. So what about Canadian bacon?
Canadian bacon, I'll put that in C tier. I don't care for it.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Now, we've got a question that actually, funnily enough, is kind of about Canadian bacon. So when is Pig Gammon, I mean Gannon, coming back?
When is Pig Ganon coming back? Oh,
He was in
goodness.
Breath of the Wild, wasn't he, really?
Yeah, the ultimate Pig Ganon. You know what? And honestly, I kind of like agree with Angel is that I kind of hope not. I'm kind of sick of seeing him. You know what I mean?
It was me that said that, actually. I think
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. No, yeah, I'm kind of sick of seeing him. I really loved Dragon Ganon. Dragon Ganon was fucking awesome. So I would really like to just not see any more more of Pig Ganon. I'm tired of him.
When we had Pig Ganon, it was in just in the main line, Zelda 1. Zelda 2? Sort of. You didn't fight him, did you? But he was in the cinematic at the end if you died. He was
Link to the Past.
Link to the Past. Ocarina of Time he's in, because obviously he transforms into that. Sort of Wind Waker, because Puppet Ganon is kind of Pig Ganon, right?
Yeah.
And he's in Twilight Princess as well. And then obviously Breath of the Wild. He's just been in it enough, I think.
It's too much.
Yeah.
We've had enough.
Yeah, and that's not including the sort of the other sort of spin-offs that he might have been in. I'm sure he's been in more because isn't he the final boss of the Oracle games if you play them both?
No, General Onox.
No, if you play them both, you get Twin Rover, don't you? And then you fight Ganon.
I actually don't know. But I guess I will be finding out soon, and I'll report back.
Ooh, exciting! I've heard.
I mean, not super soon. It's not close.
I've heard
on my list.
Very frustrating, those two bosses. So I wish you luck.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
And what about just the cheese pizza? What do you feel about a cheese pizza? Just cheese and tomato.
Go ahead and throw it in S tier. Honestly, classic.
Yeah, I feel like. Do you feel the same as I do? Like you have to be in the right mood for a cheese and tomato pizza, but if you're in the right mood, it just hits so well. Yeah,
absolutely. Cheese pizza is like, if I'm feeling under the weather and I just really want like a kind of shitty, greasy meal to just make me like a comfort thing. Cheese pizza, absolutely. With like thin crust cheese pizza. Again, throw some like I don't even have them put the banana peppers on the pizza before they bake it. I want it on the side. I want the fresh crunch of like not cooked, just pickled banana peppers on a cheese pizza. It's perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect. It's perfection.
So apparently this one's a bit weird for Americans because I don't think you guys put sweet corn on your pizzas. So what would you do with sweet corn?
I've never tried it. I think that means it goes into the bin. However, I would try it because I think that it would be a perfect addition to a barbecue chicken pizza.
It is. I can tell you it is.
I bet that it is. I bet it is. I don't even know if sweet corn is an option here.
That's very interesting.
I'll have to check because I think I'm not going to get a pizza tonight, but I might dream about it. I might just go look, just window shopping on the Papa John's website.
You got to get a pizza after being on a podcast talking about pizza, surely.
Oh, gosh, maybe, yeah. I don't know, we'll see.
So I'd like to share a fact or opinion shared by Lady Stuff.
Sure.
Fact, Shell is freaking incredible.
Aww, what a cute opinion. Thank you, Steffi.
What should we do with extra cheese? Do you like putting extra cheese on?
Not really. No, I think that extra cheese kind of overtakes. I will do extra cheese if I can also do extra sauce, and then like at that point, why just do a cheese pizza? So I guess you could put extra cheese probably in C tier.
It's not delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about feta?
Too much cheese is very overwhelming.
I agree.
I freaking love feta. Please put it in A tier for me.
A tier. All right, lovely.
Feta is so good.
Garlic parm?
That's also S tier.
S tier. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a garlic parm as a base.
Oh, as the base?
I think so. Yeah. Or on top, I suppose. Rather than on the
yeah,
side.
because I've the way that I've always had it is just like as something that you can like put on the crust or over the top. I've never had it like as a base. As a base, if you're doing it as a base, that's probably going to be C tier. But as a topping, I definitely would put it in I'd probably put it in A tier. So I'll let you decide how you're going to judge that.
That's fine. We'll pop that in A tier. What about olives then? Do you like olives?
Absolutely S tier.
Green
Both
olives
of them.
or
If you have green and blue, or black, if you have green and black olives, they both go in S tier.
Okay, understood. What about just green peppers? We like how the fact we've got banana peppers, bell peppers, and just green peppers.
And they can also go in S tier.
Well, lovely. What about ham?
Ham? I'll put in B tier.
B tier.
Mm-hmm.
That is the lowest anyone's put ham. Ham, it so far is our highest rated topping, and until now, it's only dropped 1 point. It's been in the S tier for everyone apart from one person who put it on the A tier.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Most of the meats will be pretty low.
Why do you hate ham? I'm kidding.
I mean, I don't know. Because I don't like pig gannon, okay?
Would you like some extra gannon on that pizza?
No, you can throw gannon in the bin.
So, A. Morgan shared a factual opinion. The new Zelda game is going to be a rip-off of Wand of Camelon. That is just genius, isn't it?
I wouldn't say a ripoff, but if it's not a spiritual successor to Wand of Gamelon, I don't want to play it.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
I'm not buying. That's not true. I'll buy it. I would buy anything that Nintendo pumps out for Zelda, and that's where I'm just not a good fan. I mean, I'm a good fan, obviously, for their pockets, but you don't want to trust my opinion on anything because I'm gonna buy it.
I'm kind of the similar certainly when it comes to the mainline games. Honestly, I mean, I waited like 4.5 years to buy Breath of the Wild, but it was always a when. It was never a if ever I was gonna buy it or not. You know. All right, jalapenos.
S tier.
Ooh, you like spicy?
I do love spicy food a lot. A lot, yeah.
Yeah, we've had quite a few people on that don't really do spicy. I'm not really one for spicy, especially on pizza. I'd put all the spicy stuff straight in the bin, really. I mean, jalapenos, I don't know. I don't really like their flavour as much as the spice as well. I find them really bitter, but that's just me. What about marinara sauce, the actual pizza sauce?
That can also go into S tier. It's just freaking classic. Freaking classic, dude.
It's true. It's true. So we've got a few responses to the question of the day as well. Paul says that summer, love the good weather and happiness it brings, which is a great answer. I mean, I personally get a little bit too hot in the summer.
All I know is I am sitting inside of my house and I've been like sweating into my eyeballs from how humid it is. And it's affecting me inside. Check on your Southern American friends. Y'all are really not having a fun time this year.
I love the sun being out because it's like it's nice to see the sun and get all the rays and stuff. But being too hot is just the worst feeling ever. Like, I'd rather be too cold than too hot generally.
No, Morgan, we're not sitting inside our houses. As you can see from my background, I am very clearly sitting outside in a field with some trees and clouds. So
that's a Hyrulean field, surely.
It sure is.
Where are we putting your meatballs?
Meatballs, I'm going to have to say put them in the bin. Put them in the bin.
Really?
I don't want them. I don't want them.
That is lavish.
It's just like beef, but they put in extra work. Am I right? It's
well, my problem with meatballs, because they are quite tasty, but the problem is like you've either got a mouthful of them or you've got a mouthful of none of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you're much better off with something like bacon that's sprinkled over the whole thing.
Yeah, you might as well just use like a ground beef mixture or something like that.
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense to have meatballs on a pizza.
Exactly.
Maybe in a pasta, sure.
Yeah.
Even still, I'm like, maybe not.
And pasta, that's very sus.
Meatballs and pasta?
Imposter? Who's the imposter? That's very sus.
You? Oh, God, shut up, Mellar.
Speaking of dad jokes, mushrooms. Do you have mushroom on your pizza for them?
Absolutely, S tier. I will eat mushrooms raw by themselves. I do not care. I love mushrooms so much.
Meatballs belong in my mouth. It went right over her head. Oh.
It truly did. It really did.
So this one confused quite a few people, including me, because I don't even know what prostromy is, and it's not the green stuff on this picture.
No,
It's the meat.
it said that it was kind of similar to like sliced, like thinly sliced, like steak, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Unfortunately, I've never tried it. The way that you described it, it sounded really good, and I would like to try it, but I think it has to go in the bin if I've not tried it, correct?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, it goes in the bin, unfortunately, but I will change that and get back to you.
That's understandable. So then we've got Manus says that summer's his favorite season because shorts are comfortable. I hate wearing shorts. I can't do it. Like it doesn't matter how
I don't
hot,
like wearing pants.
it doesn't matter how hot it is outside. I'm wearing jeans.
I just want to be inside under a blanket.
Yeah, if I'm outside, I'm wearing jeans.
So I can't do that in the summer.
If I'm inside, I'm just wearing my boxer shorts. To be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I hate shorts. Like nobody needs to see my legs. Yeah. Right. I'm a bit scared of the response now. Right. Everybody, hold on to your horses. What are we doing with pepperoni?
Pepperoni's in A tier.
Oh, thank God.
It is like my second favorite meat. Well, I guess third because chicken and bacon are so much better. But we already know. Listen, I've answered in Manus's channel enough for everybody to know how I feel about pineapples.
The thing is, I don't remember. So
it's okay. You're about to find out.
Where are we putting pineapples?
It's going in S tier. Are you kidding me? It's going in S tier. Are you kidding me?
Would you eat just a cheese, tomato, and pineapple pizza?
Absolutely. Oh my God, that sounds delicious. This sounds delicious, actually.
Well,
because it's like the salty of the cheese mixed with and like the richness and thickness of the sauce mixed with the really like sweet, crunchy like fruitiness of pineapple. It's incredible. Oh my God, what is wrong with you? not what is wrong with you. I understand people have their own opinions, but pineapple is absolutely goated. It goes, yeah, absolutely S tier forever.
Pork,
I'm putting that in the bin. I'm so sorry.
I try not to let my own opinion shine through, but you're making it really difficult.
Stressed. You're stressed. I'm stressed. We're both very stressed right now. I told you this was, I mean, I knew you were going to hate having me on for Pizza Wars. Your chat's freaking out.
Oh, my face hurts. All right, my response. Spring, I love the weather. The sun starts coming out. The air is still cool, and the world is coming back to life. All right, ranch sauce.
I'm sorry, what sauce?
Ranch sauce?
Ranch. Oh,
oh no, sorry, ranch.
B tier.
B?
It only goes good. Like I know a lot of people like to dip their pizza in it or whatever. I think it really only goes good on a buffalo chicken pizza.
Right.
It's the only time that it's really actually desired for me. Other than that, I'd rather have like a garlic dipping sauce before I'd use like a ranch sauce. So
that's understandable. Angry Angel.
Chicken bacon ranch is also really, really good.
So does the ranch cool down the spice? Is that what that does?
It complements it really well because ranch is mayonnaise based. And so it's like mayonnaise and then buttermilk and then like just ranch seasoning. And yeah, I guess it kind of cools down the heat of the buffalo sauce, but honestly, I just think that the two flavors complement each other very well.
Yeah, excellent. Angry Angel says, fall. I love being cold, but not too cold. Tons of good food and festivals and fun holidays too.
Same.
Yeah.
Well, again, and also winter. I really love being cold.
Yeah, winter definitely has its merits. The only thing I don't like about winter is the lack of sun. The night is just too long, you know? But yeah, no, other than that, like, it's nice being like, because it's so lovely, isn't it, when you sort of warm up after being cold, whereas sort of cooling down when you've been hot is just yeah.
Yeah, I'd just rather never be hot.
Yeah, same.
I just want to always be cold.
Yeah, same. What are we doing with salami then?
Salami can go also in the bin.
Ooh.
It's in the bin. I'll never order it on a pizza. I don't want it. I've never had it. I've never wanted to have it.
All right. Well, Manus wants to know: is pizza a soup or a salad?
I guess it's a salad for me, right? There's the dressing, and then there's like it's just a salad that's been flipped upside down.
What are we doing with sausage then? I'm kind of scared to know the answer.
Sausage is like C tier. It's C tier. It's really low, but it's not the lowest. There's worse meats.
Wow, yeah. I mean, obviously salami. What about scallions then?
I'll put them in A tier, honestly. I mean, they're not as great as like onions, but they're a good garnish.
Yeah, they're all right, aren't they?
Yeah.
We've got Salty Ginger says full, cool attempts, bonfires, cute boots, apple everything. Apple everything.
Mm-hmm.
What about spinach?
Spinach is S tier.
S tier. Lovely. I used to think that spinach was a really weird thing to put on a pizza, but there's actually a frozen pizza, a vegetarian frozen pizza with spinach on it. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the three of us, obviously you, me, and Angry Angel, who's the most chaotic one?
I have. Oh no! I was about to say I only have one thing, and that's yeah. But I don't know. I don't think that makes me chaotic. I just think that means that I don't have a filter. I don't think that I'm the most chaotic. I think you are the most chaotic, and I think that Angel is in denial about how much more chaotic you are.
I take that as the highest compliment.
It is so. It's unexpected from you. You know, you're very like. You seem up front to just be very like proper and like whatever, and then you become Monica, and it's just like, okay, this is cursed.
I get that from my colleagues because none of them expect me to be like this, and then sometimes I mention the fact that I've got a Karen wig and I act out Karen, and they're all like, "No, you don't." I'm like, "Yeah, I do."
I can see it.
We've just got steak left.
Steak can go in A tier.
A tier. Oh, nice. Have you tried steak on pizza?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're the first person that's tried it, apart from me, that's been on the show.
It is delicious.
It's a great thing to put on a pizza.
Yes, it is.
We've just got Morgan. I love romantic walks in a park, the scenery with different coloured leaves. Autumn is my favourite. So autumn is Morgan's favourite season. I think autumn seems to be the favourite just in general of people that have responded.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Again, I don't know how much you know about like American geography, but I do live at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, and so I am constantly surrounded by beautiful scenery at all times.
Oh, nice.
In fall, it is unparalleled how beautiful it is around here. So yeah, that's nice. I absolutely agree. There's quite nothing like a crisp autumn evening where I have the top down on my Miata and I'm just driving up through the mountains with the heat blasting like on my legs, like not on my face, but just on my legs. So it's like coming up and out the back of my car. It is incredible. It's the most beautiful feeling.
Absolutely. I like going for a long walk in autumn, to be fair. It's a nice time of year. Yeah, also, Always Try to Go also says autumn is best. It just is. It's the only time. We have low humidity in the south. Yep.
And again, as I am sitting here doing nothing and sweat is just like forming around the sides of my eyes. That's why I've been wiping my eyes because I can feel like salty sweat just like gathering from my eyes, just the normal wetness in my eyes, and it's pooling because of all of the humidity. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I couldn't live like that.
It's very uncomfortable. We're not having a good time.
All right, last thing then, fresh tomatoes.
I'm going to put them in the bin, and I'll tell you why. It would make sense for me to put them up really, really high, but I think that there's nothing in this world that can ruin appetite worse than a bad tomato, and I don't trust tomatoes from restaurants, so I will never ever put any kind of tomato on a burger. I will never put it on a pizza or anything like that. No cherry tomatoes in my salads, nothing like that, because again, I can't guarantee that that tomato is going to be good. And if I bite into a bad tomato, I will get sick, and then I will not eat the rest of my food, and I will have just wasted money. So it's just better to not do it at all.
That's fair. That's the only vegetable apart from corn that you've put in the bin. I feel like you've put less in the bin than anyone else that we've had on the show so far.
I am honestly not a super picky person. I do want to be fair. All of the meats, well, not all of the meats, but most of the meats that I put low in like lower tiers for pizza, I would not put them on pizza. However, that is not to say that I don't love them, because I do love, I truly do love, I mean, there's so many things that I will eat. There's not a whole lot that I won't. There's like maybe four like different things that I absolutely will not touch, and they're really not even like related at all. So I just homegrown tomatoes only. Absolutely. Once you've had a tomato fresh out of your grandma's garden, you can't go back. You can't. So
where are we then? Why are we should be on this one. This one? Oh, there we are. Okay, that will do. All right, that's a show. How do you feel that everything went? Are you a happy bunny?
I am. I hope you are too. I hope that I wasn't too chatting of Chattisfying.
Oh no, you're looking for the chatty ones. That was perfect. Thank you very much for being an awesome guest.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
I really appreciate you having me on.
No, I really appreciate you being a guest. Seriously, thank you also, Angry Angel, for co-hosting, and for everyone who hung out. Follow everyone you see on screen. It goes for Angry as well. So we're all on Twitch. It's literally our Twitch handle is our name on the screen. So just twitch.tv/ and then the name. Give us everyone a follow if you haven't already. I know that Angry Angel, like I said, sort of puts the variety in variety streaming, and Chelly and I like to do lots of Zelda, although I'm not doing a huge amount of Zelda right now. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, because I edit this down for YouTube, then like and subscribe, hit that bell. Ding!
Do it. Listen to him.
But other than that, I think we'll call it a night. So thank you again, everyone, and bye for now.
Thank you all so much. Bye.
Chattisfying.